Titty balls.
Happy, beautiful.
Titty balls. God damn it. Man. So, do you want to play Until Dawn? Or maybe this is podcast talk. This may already be podcast talk.
I'm good.
Twitter. Okay.
Please don't make you linking something on Twitter or podcast talk.
Recording a live episode. Should we just pretend this is a tardy to the party?
If you want structure, I guess.
Let's see.
I kind of like when you derail, so
that's my job. The special guest is a grumpy turtle. Yeah, I'm just tweeting this right now. This is actually kind of nice. I like recording on Saturday night because I have nothing better to do. I got no family. I got no wife. I got no girlfriend. All I got is my Millennium Falcon.
I'd say that was a beautiful song, but I would lie.
It's not wrong though. There's truth in that song. Truth in that beauty. So we can pretty much start whenever you like.
No, I'm good to go whenever you are.
Okay, so let's pretend this is the start of the show.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. This is the Boy Howdy podcast for the week ending. This was October 24th, 2015. We're now officially living in the future. In case you have been living in a cave for the last 5 years. Yes, we have finally passed the Back to the Future event horizon, and now we're living beyond the scope of the Back to the Future trilogy. So, yes, it's uncharted territory here on the Boy Howdy podcast. We have no idea what the future holds. Speaking of which, we could have never guessed that Annie Maloney wouldn't be here this week because she has special guests. She's hosting at home, and so taking her place this week, we have Daniel the Grumpy Turtle Rudis.
Yes, it's very nice to be here.
How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How's you? Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. It's very welcome. This is we're essentially replicating our side podcast. Well, it's side podcast for me because this is the other podcast I do when I'm not doing Boy Howdy.
This is your bread and butter.
Daniel and I were also the hosts of the Tardy to the Party podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively brand new podcast. We only have about 10 episodes under our belts.
TardyPodcast.com.
Yeah, TardyPodcast.com. And how would you describe the premise for Tardy to the Party?
You and I have pop culture holes. We want to fill those holes with delicious pop culture. So we shove that pop culture in our holes and talk about what our thoughts were.
Daniel was very kind to let me name the episode, name the podcast "Tardy to the Party." It's but that's what it is. So yeah, it is. It's just like checking out movies, video games, TV shows, and stuff we've always wanted to check out. But now because we have a podcast, we're like, okay, and we switch off every episode. So one episode will be about me going back and like watching like. The next episode we record next week, and it's going to be me talking about The Fifth Element, which I still haven't seen yet, but I will within the next week. And did you decide what you're going to talk about next?
No.
Okay.
But
you better, because whatever it is, I have to watch it too, so we can talk about it on the podcast.
I kind of flip back and forth, but at the same time, you've been picking such obscure, terrible movies I've never seen before as well.
Well, so. Halloween came, and so I really wanted to. Well, yeah. So we talked about The Old Dark House. We talked about Frankenstein, which of course everyone knows. Not too many people have actually seen, but you actually liked.
That was this most recent episode.
Yeah, and Silent Hill 2. That was the most recent. No, wait.
No, that comes out on Wednesday.
Okay, yeah, that's this weekend. Okay, so, yeah, I actually liked. Well, that's started the party podcast talk, but I liked Silent Hill 2. Daniel liked Frankenstein.
If you like to hear somebody actually keep Bill on track and not let his mind wander too much, I do my best to do it, but it doesn't always work because he's Bill.
So yeah, that started the partypodcast.com. It's a very cute little fluffy little show, but I like it. It's a good time.
Fluffy.
And so, but what you're listening to right now is still the Boy Howdy podcast, in which we talk about stuff we've been doing this week. What'd
you do this week, Bill?
Man, I just got done watching some Once Upon a Time. Have you ever seen that TV show?
Oh, why would you do that to yourself?
Does Kelsey, your wife, does she like that show?
Yes. Well, I don't know if she likes it, but she watches it.
That's what I'm gonna say, because she seems like, I can totally, No,
the show is garbage. It's hot garbage.
You're absolutely correct.
But it's
It's yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I literally just got done doing. Man, as we're recording this right now, it is sunset on Saturday night, and it is here in Portland, Oregon, where the street where I live right now. It is the cartoon caricature of fall outside right now. It's a beautiful sunset. It's the kind of sunset where all the trees and the power lines are. It's all like silhouetted in black against the dusky sky, with like the crows flying through the sky and and just getting cold enough that the wind is blowing and all the dry leaves are clattering against the sidewalk, and the neighbors they're literally they're burning a bunch of leaves, so you get the smell of like the burning. It is like perfect. Portland.
You paint a beautiful word picture with your mouth hole.
It's good. You know what the funny thing is? We're going to talk about Amazing Stories later too. But my first thought was like, this is like the end credits of Amazing Stories, the TV show from 1985.
So it's not like the opening credits of the HBO specials?
Yeah, kind of. You know what's actually kind of like outside right now? Hocus Pocus.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Hocus Pocus?
I have seen Hocus Pocus.
It's kind of like how like
also known as the only movie that What's Her Face was ever hot in.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I'm not crazy for thinking she's hot in that movie.
No, it's the only movie she's ever been attractive in.
She's weirdly attractive in that movie. It's not like I ever hated her or anything before, but I never thought of Sarah Jessica Parker being super. Or of course, we're talking about Kathy and Jimmy.
Of course.
But yeah, no, Sarah Jessica Parker.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I only saw that movie for the first time. If we had started Tardy the Party a couple years ago,
because she's like channeling her inner Kelly Bundy.
Kind of a little bit, which is funny because I don't go for bimbos that often.
And she's wearing a
she's kind of a dangerous bimbo because she's like, trying to lure kids to their doom and stuff. But yeah, actually, Annie, the normal co-host of the show, she's the one who actually introduced me to Hocus Pocus.
And she hates that movie.
Does she?
She said she watched. Isn't that the one she watched like 50 times at a slumber party?
Yeah, because when she was a kid, that for some reason the kid who was hosting the slumber party just kind of literally left it on all night, just like played 50 times in a loop.
So
it's good. It's not 50 times in a row in a single evening. Good.
Have we gotten to anything you've done this week? You described what outside looks like. So that's what you did this week. You went on a tangent about what it looks like.
Now it is like a goddamn Ray Bradbury short story out there. I'm just saying. I don't mind recording the podcast, but if I weren't doing this right now, I'd be on my porch just. I could smell the burning leaves. The jack-o'-lanterns. What did I do this week?
What you do?
Just actually in the last day or two. Have you ever seen the Phantom of the Opera? The color, actually, either big version of the Phantom of the Opera, either the silent version or the 1940s version starring Claude Rains.
I've seen the Joel Schumacher version.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the Joel Schumacher version starring Gerard Butler.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Is this based off of the? Is this the?
It's a musical version.
Oh shit! I didn't realize they made a movie out of that.
Yeah, they sure did, and it was terrible. It's the only Frank Lloyd Webber musical I really like, and the movie was not good.
So you've actually seen it live?
No, I have not. But
so you only saw the movie, but you thought the movie was pretty good?
No, I did not. I just said the movie was terrible.
So you've only listened to the soundtrack?
Correct.
Oh, okay. Does the story still make sense with just the soundtrack?
Yeah, because there was a, what was it, early 90s made-for-TV movie version of it that was decent-ish. Man.
So Andrew Lloyd Webber, he also did Les Miserables and Cats, right?
I don't believe he did Les Mis, but he did do Cats.
Well, you didn't I know Les Mis is based off a book, right? And so
yeah, but I don't think that music is his. No, I don't think
I remember as a kid in middle school.
He did Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat,
really?
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Man. Yeah, I remember in middle school, they tried to sign kids up to go on field trips to Toronto to go see Andrew Lloyd Webber plays in real life. And they really positioned that as this is a cultural event. This is how we're gonna get. We're gonna make you kids classy by making you guys go see Cats or Phantom of the Opera. And in retrospect, that just shows how fucking white trash my shit was. My education growing up, when they thought that was the highest classy thing they could do.
Cats is one of my least favorite musicals of all time.
Can you imagine traveling a day and a half up to Toronto on a bus just to see Cats, and then have to travel a day and a half back to Pittsburgh just to see fucking Cats?
Cats is the musical equivalent of that weird kid at school.
I can't judge. Man, maybe actually, speaking of Tardy of the Party, I've never seen the Andrew Lloyd Webber play. I mean, I've heard excerpts and stuff. Just even seeing excerpts of the stage show that I've seen in commercials and stuff, I can tell it looks like garbage. But
this
is a thing I've never seen before, it could be prime Tardy the Party podcast material.
Les Mis was done by somebody who I can't pronounce their name. So
really, the musical version.
Yeah,
that had I could have sworn that was Weber. Anyway, Again, I can tell so much because I'm such a goddamn expert. Me having never seen his stuff before, but
yep, you're an expert.
Oh man, so anyway, so the version I watched was the Claude Rains version from like 1941.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty early color horror film, and the reason I wound up watching this is because I have the Universal Studios Monster Blu-ray box set, which is a box set they came out with like 2 years ago, which has like the first couple Frankenstein movies. It's got Dracula. It's got the Spanish version of Dracula. It's got Invisible Man, the Wolfman, all that stuff. Not all the films in those series, but like the first couple of each one. And it's all on Blu-ray, so it looks about as good as you can expect, like a bunch of like 90-year-old movies to look. And they have all kinds of making of stuff and commentaries. And the last two movies I've never actually watched off of the Blu-ray set, and that's Phantom of the Opera and Creature from the Black Lagoon, which I'll probably actually end up watching for the first time tomorrow. But yeah, Phantom of the Opera. I've never really cared much for the idea of the story of Phantom of the Opera, because I know it's just a Beauty and the Beast thing, but with like Paris opera stuff slathered on top, which that doesn't interest me at all. But I do love Claude Rains. Have you watched anything with Claude Rains in it?
I don't know.
Okay,
keep talking and I'll find out.
That's right, because you've never seen Casablanca, right?
No.
Okay, yeah, because that's one of his big things. He was in The Wolfman. It's Claude Rains. He's just in a whole bunch of stuff. But he's the Phantom in Phantom of the Opera, this color 1941 version. And actually, it's funny listening to the commentary after I watched it for the first time. They actually point out that he filmed this literally right after filming his biggest part ever, which was in Casablanca. He essentially walked off the lot from Warner Brothers, finishing up his role on Casablanca right across the street over to Universal to film the Phantom of the Opera. And it's kind of a bummer because when you see his face at the end, his face gets all fucked up. Well, there's that famous shot from the Lon Chaney version.
Well, that's the thing about the Phantom is his face is fucked up.
Yeah, and Lon Chaney, his like that silent film version is so kind of like, it's not like bloody, but it is kind of like he's got the big haunted eyes. He has a big goony potato face. It's very sympathetic looking. And I guess Claude Rains for the this color version, he was a really kind of a prissy motherfucker about not wanting to look ugly, and so they just kind of smeared some kind of like pancake batter on like part of a side
interesting choice to be in that role.
Yeah, well, you gotta act, you gotta take whatever role you can, but I could totally see him being kind of prissy about that stuff. But the rest of the role, he's really good. He plays he's a violinist in the Paris Opera who gets fired because like he gets like arthritis in his hand, and he can still play, he just can't play quite as good as he used to. And so he gets fired and he gets really pissed off, and so he decides to take vengeance on the opera company by just essentially killing as many people, not only the people in the opera company, but like people in the audience for the opera too.
This is very loosely based off the Phantom of the Opera.
Is it? Because I don't know the original story. I only know it's from like movies and stuff.
All the versions I know of is the Phantom is somebody that like lives in the theater.
Yeah, and this one he doesn't really live in the basement. He just kind of hangs out there for a day and a half before like crushing everyone. He like cuts loose this giant glass chandelier and it crushes everybody.
Yeah.
But it's great because it's 1941 early. I think people have labeled this the first color horror movie. And it's really lurid because the giant set they filmed this on, it's supposed to be the Paris Opera, but it's actually the same set they actually built for the silent version of Phantom of the Opera like 20 years beforehand. And seeing it in color, it's like super lurid, like brights, reds and pinks, and the costumes are really good. And yeah, it's Claude Rains, and if you like Claude Rains, it's really nice. I kind of feel like a sucker for not having watched this before. It was actually pretty good.
Well,
that's kind of one of the big things I watched this week. What have you been up to?
They put out. Well, I'll talk about what I did for the most time this week. They released a new Adventure Time game.
Oh no! What system?
Like every system. It's called Adventure Time Finn and Jake Investigations. And it's not
Oh no!
$50 worth of Adventure Time games. It's like $30 worth of Adventure
Wait,
Time.
how much are they charging? 60 bucks?
50.
50.
But it's cute, but it is like...
Is this for consoles?
If you told me that this was a old Telltale game, I would believe you, because it's very much like Sam and Max or Back to the Future or anything from that era.
Yeah.
It's very much baby's first adventure game.
Well, isn't that the kind of tack they've been taking with all the Adventure Time games?
No, the most recent one was kind of Zelda-ish. There was the...
Was that the Zelda 2 clone?
No, that was the one for the 3DS.
Yeah, that's the last one I
clone.
played. Yeah.
The most recent one that I'm aware of was...
Was it like Diablo?
No, that was the one before the most recent one.
Jesus Christ, okay.
The most recent one used the Diablo-ish kind of dungeon crawler one.
Yeah, top-down,
stuff, like animations and stuff, but gave it a more cohesive story and actual beginning and end and like characters and stuff.
But it's pretty lightweight stuff, though, this new one.
Yeah, it feels unfinished, like whenever you complete, because it feels like a game that should have been chopped up into pieces and given you for $5 a month or something like that.
Okay.
Because you do like 5 investigations, various investigations.
Oh, really? Okay. So I wonder if maybe they were planning to do something like that.
I feel like it is, because every investigation kind of just ends. There's not really any fanfare. Even the very ending of the game, there's not really much fanfare to it. It's just
is there much of an overarching plot?
It's hard. Well, did you see any of the episodes with Emo Phillips doing that one guy?
I don't think so.
No, because there's this character.
I've only watched the first 2 seasons.
There's a character voiced by Emo Phillips that comes in and tells you Graybles, which are like...
I saw one episode of that, yeah.
Yeah, he tells you these Graybles, fables.
I had no idea that was a...
That's kind of... He's a character that they base it off in this. And so he tells you a bunch of playable Grayble fables. And you play them, and
like
it's cute enough. It's got all the voice actors and everything, except I don't think Cinnamon Bun is voiced by the original guy. Because instead of talking like this, where he's kind of loose, he's just kind of got a deep voice, so it doesn't really quite fit. It's not as slimy as Cinnamon Bun usually is. Man,
you know the bloom is off the fucking flower when they can't get the original Cinnamon Bun in for the fucking
because
Adventure Time game.
They got everybody else, and
Yeah.
it might be the guy that does Cinnamon Bun. He just isn't doing him as...
He's just tired.
Slimy.
Oh.
So I'm not sure on that, but...
Man, okay, so the makers of this game are called Vicious Cycle, and they've done nothing but just like... Yeah, they did like the Spy versus Spy, Ben 10...
Yeah, it's a fine little adventure game that you can breeze through in a couple days, but
is it story centric, or are you just kind of like hacking and slash?
Yeah, it's story centric. There's a little combat. It flashes up on the screen, combat time, and the combat is super simple.
Yeah,
and like there's certain things that just feel unfinished. Like it says, the better you do in a combat, the more loot you get, and so the combat round will finish, and it's like, yeah, we got a ton of loot, and there'll like be a pause screen, and it will say like loot get, but it doesn't show you anything you got unless you got a sword.
Oh wow, okay.
So you don't feel like you accomplished anything.
Man,
and they give you swords, and different swords, and they all have different abilities. And I really liked this lightning one that when you use it, its special ability, and you hit an enemy, it chains to all the other enemies on screen.
Oh yeah.
Super helpful.
Almost like a field of area attack.
Yeah, but then I got the next sword upgrade, which I didn't like as much, but I couldn't figure out any way to go back to the old sword that I really liked. So you can only use what they give you.
That's like Nintendo Entertainment System era gameplay, where you just kind of like... It's almost like getting the whip in Castlevania 2, where you just kind of upgrade, but you can never go back. It's like there's no inventory. It's just like constantly up and up, and upgrading.
There's no chapter select, so I missed some... I'm missing like 2 trophies, and I can't go... I have to play the whole game over again if I want to get them.
So you're playing this on PlayStation 4?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I'll have to go back and play the whole thing if I want to get those last 2 trophies.
How long did it take you to play through?
A couple days. Playing it on and off. It's not super long, but
yeah.
Also, it's an adventure game, so sometimes like stuff I didn't quite see the first time through, and I couldn't figure out the puzzles.
Oh, so at least there's some kind of justification for going back. Then it's not just
it's a fine little game. It's just it needs a lot of polish. It needed more time in the oven before they sent it out the door.
You think you'll bite the bullet on the next Adventure Time game, like at launch, or are you gonna wait for it to?
I'll probably get it from GameFly. I don't think I'll just buy it right away like I have with all the others. But the 2D side scroller Zelda-ish one was good, and the most recent done like Zelda-ish one was good. But
yeah, because they've had like 4 or 5 games by now, right?
yeah,
It's gotta be something like that, you know.
Yeah. So, but this one has all the voice acting and stuff, so it was good.
I see on the show notes you also listed. I'm just going to mention this because it seems kind of related. Yeah, you played some of the Minecraft story mode game.
Barely. It didn't keep a lot of my interest, but I really like Patton Oswalt and I really like Brian Posehn. They both do voices.
Oh, Brian Posehn's in that too.
Yeah, they both do voices. So I started to play it, and I was like, "This is Telltale," and then I kind of got bored.
Man, did you ever see? Have you ever watched News Radio?
Watch off. Yeah.
My friend Joshin, he's a huge fan of that show, and he's been going back and rewatching the whole thing from top to bottom. And we were just watching an episode last night where, who's the main guy? Dave Foley from Kids in the Hall.
Correct.
You find out that he used to have a college barbershop quartet that he used to be part of, and they suddenly show up and decide that like they have some kind of pact where 10 years after they left college, now they have to get back together and go back on the road. And they try to they want to get Dave Foley back on the road too. And the rest of the quartet, it's Mr. Show and Brian Posehn.
Are you David Cross or?
Yeah, it's David Cross and what's his face?
Brian Posehn?
No, not Brian. It's Brian Posehn. It's David Cross and what's his face? Better Call Saul.
Bob Odenkirk?
Yeah, it's those two guys and Brian Posehn. So.
Okay. When you said Mr. Show, I didn't realize you meant both of the guys.
Yeah, both those guys. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, you know how I work. Whatever the title.
Yeah, I know how you work, so I figured you just meant one of the guys.
That is my Brian Posehn.
You didn't say Mr. Shows.
Wait, if Brian Posehn is the guy, he's the tall, like lunky looking guy, right?
Correct.
Let's see, Brian Posehn. I don't have to Google that. You can just see. Okay. So Minecraft, it's kind of eh.
It's just it's for me. I mean, it's made for kids. What are you expecting? Like you pick out like an outfit for a pig, and somebody will remember that. I mean,
really?
It's Minecraft. It's
still Telltale though. I mean, you could still see them. It'd be nice if they targeted towards kids, but still had enough meat on its bones to like keep adults.
I have not gotten far enough into it to tell you.
Yeah, man, I came very close to pulling the trigger on that. Because, I'm just curious to see how you make a story out of Minecraft. But, man, those characters look horrifying.
Well, they're Minecraft characters. What were you expecting?
But I forgot how ugly people can look in Minecraft form. And then when you add the fact that, like, they've got, like, moving eyes and they're talking. And because they're kind of stuck with the Minecraft bodies, they can't like articulate the characters. And it's not like Telltale is known for like its really lush animation, but even then, like The Walking Dead still had like more articulated characters than they do in like in the Walking.
Of course they do, because they're not Minecraft characters. It's just like
honestly,
what were you expecting from a Minecraft game?
It looked like haunted dolls or something. It's just kind of creepy. I don't know, something about it where I was like,
they're Minecraft characters. What do you want?
I mean, those characters are obviously that model, that like human model was obviously never really meant to be looked at. I mean, Minecraft's a first-person game.
Do you play like Lego games and get upset because the characters look like Legos?
Minecraft, at least the minifigures look like minifigures. At least they look like that. They're designed to be appealing. But the Minecraft thing is the shoebox with like those little square eyes. They look like jack-o'-lanterns talking at you or something like that. There's something so off about the proportions of the faces on those characters. And it's not so bad if they were mute, but once you got live voices coming out of those like weird, ghastly square heads with the square eyes, it's like if you're playing Berserk and there's the auto evil monster comes out and like starts chasing you around. If he suddenly came out and started talking to you with a real voice, that's the kind of like, I don't want that to scare the shit out of me, because that face is so abstract. Like a real voice shouldn't be coming out of it.
I think that's very much a Bill Mudrin.
I think it is,
because I don't get that at all. I'm not like, no, these Minecraft characters. They're talking to me. Yeah,
Annie has spiders and I have Minecraft characters.
Weird, because you love Minecraft. Hey, Bill.
Minecraft is fun.
Bill.
Yeah.
How was Until Dawn?
What do you think? You I like how you could say you played it when you just watched a whole. When you watched like a walkthrough on YouTube?
When did I ever say I played it? I've never said I played it.
But you said you watched a whole playthrough on YouTube, which is kind of like playing it, kind of, because it's
well, I guess, but
kind of.
Why are you asking me what I thought? You're the one that actually played it. If you want to get into spoilers, we can save it till the end of the show.
It's hard to talk about without getting into spoilers, yeah.
Well, okay, did you like it?
I thought it was pretty good. I was super bummed because I lost one of my favorite characters at the very literally the last kind of input I can make into the game, I fucked it up and killed one of the main characters.
That's sad.
And it was like in a way that was like kind of fucked up the whole. I still like the game, but like I was fine with the way the story was going because the whole point of Until Dawn, it's a PlayStation 4 exclusive where it's an 80s slasher film although it takes place modern day. Everyone's got cell phones and stuff like that, but it's obviously made by a bunch of people who grew up watching 80s slasher flicks.
Yeah.
It's about a bunch of kids up in a distant mountain log cabin being offed by a crazy serial killer, and so you have to make choices. Like it's one of those things where
it's like a David Cage game if David Cage game were good.
Yeah, and you jump back and forth between playing as all the different characters and all these different scenarios, and it's very cinematic and stuff, but it's very choice-based. It's one of those games where every time you make your choice, like something flashes saying, like, you have made a choice that will affect the future. Yeah. And so it's one of those things where, like, you're over the course of the game, you can control up to 8 different characters, and depending on the choices you make, either all 8 characters can be dead by the end of the game, or all 8 characters can be alive, or a mix, or anything in between. Mm-hmm. And I made it out with 3 living characters. I got 5 of them.
Knowing you, that sounds about right.
You know what? With video games, when it comes to story-centric stuff, if it's just like a Saints Row game or it's just like a dumb combat game where it's like the whole point is to go around and like blow stuff up and not really care about yourself, I'll play pretty recklessly. But when it comes to a story game, and if I actually like the characters enough, I'll try to be careful. And I try to be careful, and I still lost 5 of the 8 of these characters.
Yeah.
And one of them was one of the ones I was really working hard to protect at the end and got fucking, oh man.
But we'll have to talk more about that at the end of the show.
But yeah, maybe that'll be the last thing after
in who you lost and such.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was pretty good.
How's Whirlyword going for you? Because I got that too.
I barely touched that because I was working really hard to.
I should say you got that for me.
Oh well, happy birthday!
Birthday.
So how much have you played of Woolly World? Yoshi's Woolly.
One world level into World 2.
Yeah, I'm right at the end of the first world.
Because I've been trying to collect everything as I go.
Do you know how many worlds are in the game? Is it like 8 worlds like a normal Mario game?
Maybe 7 because the original Yoshi's Island was 7. 6 or 7.
That's a good point. I'm really glad. I don't mean to keep on bringing up Tardy to the Party.
But you should.
But the very first episode of Tardy to the Party was me talking about Yoshi's Island, which I'd never really played before. And it was a fucking good game. Mm-hmm. Holy shit, Yoshi's Island. I know everyone had been talking about it forever about how great it was. And it is seriously one of the best Nintendo games ever made. And I was really surprised at how much, at least of what I've played of Yoshi's Woolly World so far, it really is a spiritual successor to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look or sound anything like the original Yoshi's Island, but the way you're controlling Yoshi and like the controls are exact. Like, it even has the same control options where you can change between like how you fling the egg, and you can change between. There's a couple different things you can change in the original Yoshi's Island, and this has all that same stuff too. Except everything's made out of yarn now and very extra super cute.
So cute.
It is super cute. That's the other thing, because it's October and I just want to play scary stuff and watch scary movies. Woolly World is the opposite of that. I want to save that till like November or like the next time I get sick.
You can put on a nice wool sweater and play it.
Yeah, when I put on my Zentai suit. Is that what it's called when you're just dressed head to toe in like cock-shaped yarn?
You would know that better than I do, I think. But
what is? Sure. Did I get that right? Zentai. Google. Hey, Siri. Google Zentai suit.
I'm good. I don't really need to see it. A suit made of dicks.
Oh no, Zentai suits are like the spandex. Like if you want to wear essentially yoga pants all over your body, that's what that is. But you should be able to get those like in yarn though.
Anyway.
Oh, they got a green one that if you wear, you kind of look like the prince from Katamari.
What's been your favorite little thing that they've made out of yarn or sewing stuff so far?
Like I said, I've only through the first world. I can't remember because it's been a week since I touched it. The fact that everything's made out of yarn.
I really like how the platforms that rock back and forth on a pendulum are like 2 knitting needles with some fabric in between.
Oh yeah, that stuff is really cute too.
That's cool. And like the first bonus world that you get if you get all the flowers in the World 1, it's actually pretty hard.
Really?
Like, it's not super hard. It's nothing compared to Poochie Ain't Stupid from Yoshi's Island. But like you have to flutter a lot because waves will pop up from the bottom of the screen And you can stand on them while they're there, but when they go away, you basically have to flutter until they come back.
Is Poochie a character you can control in the game? Because like I think Poochie's on the cover.
You can, yeah, he's on the cover of the game, I think.
I don't know if he's like a power up that you can get or something like that.
In the original game, you stood on him, and if you stood on the left side of him, he'd go left. If you stood on the right side,
that thing. Okay,
yeah. But yeah, it's freaking cute as hell.
It is like it really is. If you've played or liked Yoshi's what was it? What was the last yarn game? Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but better.
Really like that, except in HD. You know what
you can die in this. Kirby, you just drop gem when you got
it. So I remember people being so upset that you couldn't die in that Kirby game.
But it was still pretty hard.
It was still a video game.
If you wanted to get it like 100%, it was tough.
People were offended by the fact that you couldn't die in that game, because I think that game came out not too long after the Prince of Persia, where you couldn't die either, and so everyone was like, "Oh my god, is this the death in video games?" And I was just like, oh, "Fucking."
It's just pointless anyway, because you don't even have lives anymore. So
yeah, I know exactly. So why not like mess with the death mechanics?
It's basically a save state. You can save a game right before a hard part.
Like even the basic Mario games still have lives you have to collect, and that you can get game over. It makes no fucking sense.
In Mario Maker, getting a 1-up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like I have unlimited lives. What's the point of this?
I do feel bad, but I do bitch about how the music isn't as good as the original Yoshi's Island. Yeah, that's one of the best parts of that game. It's not bad. It's not terrible music.
It's not. It's fine. It's some of it is quite cute and enjoyable.
I think I bitched.
And you're also comparing it to like one of the best game soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, but you think like after 16 years, you shouldn't be that hard to like. Oh man, I mean, especially with better musical equipment now.
How hard is it to come up with a fucking perfect masterpiece?
Well, yeah, so many more tools now. You're not so limited by like little MIDI sound effects. You could, especially now. Like I'm surprised. Like the music should all be just like organic guitar. Like this, I joke that it sounds like you're on. It's the music for Yoshi's Woolly World is fitting because it sounds like you're on hold on the phone with Joanne's Fabrics. That's totally exactly what it sounds like. It's not terrible.
Music isn't great, but I really
not. Yeah, it's not just terrible.
You're just a big sourpuss butt face.
Well, I literally had just finished playing Yoshi's Island like a month and a half ago, so those memories are really fresh in my mind of like what that looked and sounded like. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm just a little bit like, but yeah, no, it's a cute goddamn game. Did you try? Have you tried to use any of the amiibos with that game?
Not yet.
Yeah, because you're just supposed to be able to scan in the amiibos, and then your Yoshi like gets that skin suit.
The skin suit.
Like fucking Hannibal.
It's Buffalo Bill.
Yeah. Oh, the one of the things I do like when you start oh man, I just totally talked over your Buffalo Bill.
That's fine.
You got a good Buffalo Bill. That's all I'm saying. Well, one of the things I thought was cute too when you first start off Yoshi's World, Woolly World. The Yoshi population of the island that gets turned into yarn is made out of like special Yoshis. Like there's like cow Yoshi, there's like a forest colored Yoshi,
Shy Guy Yoshi, Watermelon Yoshi.
Yeah, and so for some reason they all get torn apart and like turned into like a specific skeins.
Well, it's because Kamek needed some yarn.
Yeah, and so you essentially put those Yoshi back together by finding like each one has like 3 different skeins of yarn that you have to find. And if you find all 3 of those in the stage, you essentially reassemble like cow Yoshi. If you find like the pink, the brown, and the white, like special skein in that stage, so yeah, that. And then once you reassemble the cow Yoshi, then you can play as cow Yoshi, which is actually cute. Yeah. And Annie, when we recorded last week, she actually played some of that before, and she was very happy that you could play as cow Yoshi. Although it was kind of disturbing because you quickly realized that cow Yoshi's udder is his nose.
Yeah. No, because cows have pink noses, depending on the
that's true too. But yeah, it was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want Yoshi milk out of that one.
Only if you're looking for the udder, Bill. Are you looking at cows' udders?
I was overly concerned about where that Yoshi udder was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no. So what else have you been up
to? Did you see that they uploaded the first episode of season 1 of Bob Ross's painting show?
Oh, I watched like the first 2 minutes of that.
It's such a warm hug from the past.
Doesn't he have like glasses on though too?
Yeah, he's got glasses and his beard is like extra long.
Yeah, it's not quite the Bob Ross where we all know and love, but
well, it is because he's talking exactly the same. And even
but you know what I mean. He hasn't evolved in the Pokemon version. He hasn't evolved in the
perfect
Pokemon
final form, but
exactly.
He's still top tier.
That's cool. I hope they keep on uploading more episodes too, because that's I mean, there's no reason to hoard Bob Ross episodes. Because it's not like you're gonna sell.
myself.
You're not gonna sell like a bazillion DVDs of like the ultimate Bob Ross DVD collection or anything like that.
Did you watch like painting shows on PBS when you were younger?
Oh yeah, all the time. I watched Bob Ross.
What else did you watch? What else? Because there was the guy with like the accent, the Irish guy that always painted sailboats.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, because
I think watercolors.
I think back in Pittsburgh on
there was a lady who always painted birds.
That wasn't WPGH. I can't remember what it was. Whatever made Mr. Rogers. Yeah, but there was. I think it was the Irish guy who painted sailboats was coupled with the Bob Ross stuff.
And a German guy, I forget his name, but he did the same kind of style as Bob Ross.
I don't think I saw that.
You'd know him if you saw him, probably. But
no.
Every day, Bob Ross on at 2 or 2:30, I think.
Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, that's where they produced Mr. Rogers. They showed a lot of Mr. Rogers. If you were watching PBS in Pittsburgh, it was often, it was mostly Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street.
These fucking puppets don't even move their mouths.
Like, they didn't have like Julia. For some reason, they didn't just show, like, there was no Julie Child or cooking shows or anything like that either. It was just kind of like.
So you didn't get the Cajun guy with the suspenders?
Did I? I don't know, it sounds familiar.
Oh, that's sad.
Would he like, I
guarantee? Yeah, he would. And he'd tell these stories and he'd end them with, I guarantee.
You know, but I know that more from the Adam Sandler Cajun Man than I probably know from that guy.
Or the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Broken Arrow, where him and Wilford Brimley are Cajuns.
Really?
Yep.
Whoa, wait, which movie
was it? Broken Arrow? I think it was Broken Arrow.
I thought
Broken Arrow, the one with him and
that's the one with Hairspray, right?
Hairspray? You mean Dennis Rodman?
No, which is terrible because that Hairspray is terrible. I like the original Hairspray. No, John Travolta.
It is. That's John Travolta and Christian Slater. Apparently,
PBS Cajun cooking guy.
Now's the part of the show where we Google stuff.
Oh yeah, his name was Justin Wilson, and the first thing that pops up on YouTube is him making gumbo.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I can hear this, but no one else can hear it. Okay, so it's not funny for me to be laughing at, but he totally does. Like, I guarantee.
So yeah, what were your PBS personalities besides Mr. Rogers?
It really was
Bob Ross.
Mr. Rogers. I mean, I met Fred Rogers. He called up my house. Did I never talk about this on the podcast?
I don't think so.
I met him once in the flesh at a performance of Peter Pan, where Chef Brockett was performing as Captain Hook. And my family, we just happened to get the seats right behind Fred Rogers because he and the guy playing Chef Brockett, who was also Peter Pan in this, or he was playing Captain Hook in this play. They were friends. So, Fred Rogers showed up to this. It was at the Pittsburgh Playhouse, which is also where I wound up watching Aliens for the first time a couple of years later after this. But yeah, we just happened to get seats right behind Fred Rogers. And like during intermission, we got up and
he turned around and was like, if your fucking kid opens his mouth during this play, I swear to God.
You better shut the fuck up about Star Wars. I'll choke the life out of that little cocksucker. But no, he got up and recognized
smother him with my sweater.
And my parents, he was dressed in he was Mr. Rogers. It's not like he had his fucking like. He was dressed like he was like on the fucking like he had just gotten done filming an episode, and my parents recognized him even before we did. And they're like, "Mr. Rogers, can we like get your autograph?" And he signed. We like my parents still have like a Peter Pan Playhouse play guide or whatever with like it says the Fred Rogers all the best love all that stuff. And like a year or two later, for my sister's birthday, my dad somehow arranged it for Fred Meyer's.
Yeah,
that's a local supermarket chain. He arranged for Fred Rogers to call my house. He himself, not like a secretary or anything like that, but I answered.
That would be awesome. For your birthday, your dad asked that Fred Rogers' secretary call the house.
Hey, I just called up to say Fred Rogers is a huge fan, I guess, or whoever you are that paid $100. Yeah, Fred Rogers, he called the house. I picked it up and he's like, "Hello, is Michelle there?" And I'm like, oh, hold on just a second. It was Fred Rogers saying he like sung "Happy Birthday" to my sister, and that like that was her like part of her birthday gift that year. My dad also once got me a signed Art of Star Wars book signed by George Lucas too. So my dad was always like real ninja when it came to crazy birthday gifts like that. Those are probably the two biggest crazy like celebrity like linked birthday things he ever did for us. But yeah, Fred Rogers was a motherfucker. I'm trying to think of like in terms of like broadcasting stuff. They would show Doctor Who on Saturday nights, like after 11.
Wait, you were the correct age for it. Did you watch any Slim Goodbody?
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Did you know that he had a record?
That's Total Recall right there. Oh my God.
Did you know Slim Goodbody had a record?
Like a record, like a giant penis?
An album.
You know what? I may have actually seen or listened to that. That sounds familiar.
When I was very, very, very little, I was in.
Oh God, because you're a good 10 years younger than me, so the fact that you know who he is kind of horrifying.
10, like 5.
5, yeah, okay, yeah, because he created the character in 1975. A guy named Josh Bernstein,
whose whole shtick was he's wearing a unitard with
my God, he looks like
body organs on it.
Yeah, he looks like he was skinned alive, and he's walking around singing his songs and stuff.
He looks like a skinned Steve Guttenberg.
You know what? He kind of looks like a skinned Screech from Saved by the Bell because he's got that Jufro. Yeah. Oh yeah, Slim Good. Like you Google image search Slim Goodbody, the first thing that pops up is the inside story.
Welcome to the old podcast where old people talk about things they barely remember.
He had a couple albums. And he's
the one that I heard like
on each one.
The one I heard there was like a corn person that wound up getting popped, and he had like a lament about how they popped and they never come back.
What?
It was weird.
What the fuck? You know what? Actually, one of the big Pittsburgh PBS personalities too was Rick Steback. Wait, is this Rick Steback?
I cannot help you there.
I know exactly. Rick. Let me Google this. Rick Steback. That's what it is. He actually, I think now he's like a pseudo well-known nationwide documentary guy. He got to start working in Pittsburgh. He did a couple documentaries about Pittsburgh stuff. One of his first big famous things was he did a documentary about Pittsburgh's amusement park called Kennywood, called Kennywood Memories, which I fucking love because the Kennywood was my amusement park growing up, and he did this great he made this documentary like in 1987 too. So if you ever find a copy of it, is a perfect slice of 1987 white trash Midwestern culture. And since then he's gone on. I've seen he mostly does documentaries about just diners like around the country and stuff like that, like real kind of like middle class kind of cool stuff.
He's morphed into Guy Fieri,
but he's got like this thick Pittsburgh accent. So if you ever see like a video of me, it's always like, I can't even do a Pittsburgh accent because it's so fucking off the wall. But it's all like, well, let's go get some. Oh, let's wash our clothes on Mount Washington. Oh God, I sound like
you are terrible at accents, and you grew up there.
I know, and I did my best not to because the Pittsburgh accent is one of the most people complain about how the Boston accent is kind of really hard on the ears, but the Pittsburgh one just sounds like you're out of your fucking mind. It's ugh.
Speaking of Pan, did you see how terrible Pan did at the box office?
Yeah, this is great because I don't have to talk about it with anybody.
It did worse than John Carter of Mars.
Really?
Yeah, because John Carter did 30 million its opening weekend, and Pan did 15.
Really, 15 million?
15 million.
Supposedly that new Gem movie is bombing like a motherfucker too.
Well, that's expected.
Yeah, but still. Let's see. WQED was Pittsburgh's PBS station. WQED personalities.
Wow, we really went off on a side street.
Yeah,
that
what
I wasn't
the hell
expecting
are we talking about?
We were talking about Bob Ross.
Bob Ross.
In his first episode on
this is a terrible advertisement for Chart of the Party.
Motherfucker could always paint.
You know what?
What?
What did you do at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo last weekend?
I walked around. I saw how expensive everything was. I bought a T-shirt with a old Portland celebrity on it and left.
What was the T-shirt?
It was Tom Peterson. He was probably before you moved here. You might have caught the end of Tom Peterson and Gloria too.
No, I don't never heard of this.
Yeah, they sold furniture. They were popular enough in the late 80s that he one of the stations out here, Z100, actually made a terrible song about him.
I think you linked about somebody this week.
I linked about
Twitter
it.
was like, yeah.
And it's a terrible song. Like, they have him sing on it, but he's obviously tone deaf like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, one of my favorite things.
I bought a t-shirt and I pieced out because I'm not going to pay the kind of prices they had there. Like, they had a Retron 5, which I was interested in getting, but it cost more there than it does on Amazon. So it was like,
was it like $100, $150?
They were charging $150 for it, and you can get it for $120 on Amazon right now, and it'll probably be cheaper at some point here soon.
You could borrow mine. I borrowed your PlayStation 2 so I can play Silent Hill. You could borrow my Retron.
Well, no, I don't want to borrow it. I want one so I can just always have a Super Nintendo hooked up at all times without having to have my Nintendo hooked up, my Super Nintendo hooked up, my Genesis.
You might want to, if you've gone this long without, I might wait till the Retron 6 or something like that, because the Retron 5 works.
I'm not in any rush for it.
Getting like cartridges of that thing, because the hardware design is really kind of funky.
But yeah, like the Portrait Retro Gaming Expo, as much as I love it and it's really awesome, it's just too expensive anymore.
You've gone every year too, right?
I've gone for the last 5 or 6 years. It's just it's offensive how expensive everything.
Yeah, I mentioned this. I talked about this last week, but yeah, this is only my second year, and just I've gone 2 years. Just between last year and this year, everything I bought last year, I could see was already like $20 more expensive.
We were chatting the other day, and you asked me like if I was looking for anything there, and I said everything I want is out of my price range, and I mentioned Rescue Rangers 2, which used to be like $56, and you looked it up, and it was $212 now.
Yeah.
So everything is offensively overpriced.
Yeah. Even
I used to be offended when I would see like Earthbound. I'd be like $50. I'm not going to get that. And now I wish I could find Earthbound for $50.
It's gone from just being like this stuff being kind of collectible to being like eBay crazy, like people hoarding the shit. Like,
it's because all the YouTube people are like, they play something on there and all of a sudden everybody has to have it. Like my first retro expo I went to, somebody was walking around asking if anybody had Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle, and I can only assume it's because of the Angry Video Game Nerd. And it's like, you don't actually want that game. That game is awful.
Well, that's the weirdest thing too, because
you're buying it is because somebody quote unquote famous online played it.
I mean, on one hand, it's really interesting because I would have never guessed that kids literally half our age would be into these games and shit like that. I mean, it's interesting that like all the YouTubers really have like sparked interest in all these old retro games. But they've also made it like, granted, if we're old enough to have played those games when we were kids, we should have probably hung on to those cartridges. Or
I did.
We had our chance.
I hung on to mine. I just want more to play.
I
like,
wish
stuff I rented.
I am still kicking myself for when I moved from Pittsburgh out to here, like 10 or 12 years ago. I left all that stuff back in Pittsburgh, and I think I sold like my 8-bit Nintendo for like $2, and I wish I'd kept it. Or not even as the hardware itself was barely working, but just even to hold on to the cartridges would not even from like a financial perspective, because it's not like I would ever sell those things, but it would also just be nice to have the cartridges that I played as a kid.
Yeah, as somebody who has my kid cartridges, let me tell you, it is nice to actually have it.
Oh, did you see?
You like browsing online and be like, holy shit, that cartridge is worth a ton of money. I better not tell my wife, or else she's gonna tell me to sell it.
I wonder too if like stuff like retro gaming, what is it, the gaming done quick stuff? I wonder if that also kind of like
awesome games done quick. Yeah, that probably
any exposure for any old retro games.
Anything that is like done on a channel that has a good amount of subscribers, the price is kind of low.
Man, I just did some work for the Angry Video Game Nerd people too. I should fucking let them have it. I'll be like, I just came back from this thing. Fuck you guys. Did you see that they had the truck, the van from the Angry Video Game Nerd movie there?
Yeah, I didn't know that. I haven't seen the movie, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just kind of funny. Oh, speaking of stuff I've worked on, did you see do you follow Jeremy Parrish online?
Yes.
Did you see the book he came out with this week, the Good Intentions NES Retrospective?
Yes.
I illustrated the cover of that.
Congratulations.
It's crazy expensive, but you should pick it. Actually, it's only crazy expensive if you get the color version.
I was wondering, because I've seen you do that, the style you did on the cover of that in a couple other places. Is that your style or your official style?
Kinda. That's what I default to when someone asks for like cartoony characters.
Okay.
Kind of like Anne Frank Conquers the Moon Nazis. It's funny because a part of that style was kind of slightly influenced by reading Howard and Nestor back in Nintendo Power in the day.
And
it doesn't really look like that too much.
I can kind of smell like a Popeye vibe in there.
Yeah, because everyone's like their elbows got like the big big round elbows and shit like that. Like that is kind of close enough to like if you just let me doodle cartoons, that's kind of my default style.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I did this. So this what we're talking about is it's a new soft cover book published by Jeremy Parish, but it's written by Jeremy Parish and a whole bunch of people who contributed to the GameSpite website, which was Jeremy Parish's like retro gaming blog essentially. And 5 years ago, they all got together and wrote shitload of articles about the 8-bit Nintendo, and they published it under a book that was just a retrospective about all like the everything about the 8-bit Nintendo system. And just this year for the 30th anniversary of the NES's release, which was just like last week, he just republished this book. He re-edited the book, added a whole bunch of new contents. There's a whole guide to all the licensed books or all the licensed games that ever came out for the NES. He has little mini articles on just like he has write-ups for almost all the games in there to some extent, but he also has like write-ups about stuff like collecting. He has a whole article in there about how like just in the last couple of years, because of he specifically cites the Angry Video Game Nerd as being one of the reasons why collecting retro games these days is so fucking prohibitively expensive. And just like all different like ephemera of pop culture stuff surrounding. Like I think he talks about like the Wizard and the Power Glove and like bootleg games and unlicensed games and all kinds of stuff. And it's really it's available in 2 different versions. If you look up Jeremy Parish and or the words Good Intentions on Amazon, there's a black and white version available for $18, which is a really good deal, because the book is like it's gonna be like 300 pages long. It's like the size of a small, not even small, like a Sears catalog. But there's a color version available for $45. That's the version I got. And I'm biased because I drew the cover. I didn't have anything to do with the guts inside, but it's perfect bathroom reading material. This sounds like a backhanded compliment. It's like reading like.
Well, no, I know what you mean.
But it's good. It's great because like they have all these like little like poop-sized length articles about like
poop-sized articles
because you can read it in the time and you're done. It's
this is poop-sized.
No, it's like why magazines are such good pooping material, because you can read an article and times if you take like a really long sheet, you can read like 2 or 3. Like that's why Entertainment Weekly. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I just read in Entertainment Weekly. Kevin Costner has a new adventure book out. He wrote a kid's book about adventuring that actually sounds kind of cool. It's like this illustrated diary thing. Anyway. Good Intentions by Jeremy Parish. Go check that shit out. It's really good. Aside from the cover.
Buy it.
I think is okay. It's not the greatest in the world, but yeah.
Click on the banner on our website. Actually, no, we don't have a banner.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Yeah. So what else?
Well, hey, Bill, what happened on October 21st?
It's a red letter date in the history of science. November 5th, 1955. Wait, what?
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 You have in your notes October 21st.
Have to talk about what November 21st, 2015 was?
No, because I'm fucking sick to death of it. Holy fuck.
Do you like Back to the Future?
I like Back to the Future, but holy fuck.
I feel bad for people. Fuck the people who hate Back to the Future. They have no taste. But if you only kind of like, if you're like, your attitude to Back to the Future is like, like my relationship with like strawberry ice cream. I like it well enough, but I'm not like, I don't want to fuck the shit out of strawberry ice cream. It's good, but like
that's if
I can do without it.
If you're equating that to how you feel about Back to the Future, your Twitter, the October 21st would disagree with you, sir.
No, I fucking love Back to the Future.
Okay.
If I had to label like my top 5 movies of all time, Back to the Future would easily be on that list. Yeah. I will fight to my dying breath that Back to the Future is one of the most perfect movies ever made.
Except for all the plot holes.
What plot? I mean, any time travel movie is gonna have plot holes. But for what it is, especially for what it was when it came out,
yeah,
it was a pretty complicated time travel story. Back to the Future's goddamn good. Sequel's not so much. I still like Back to the Future 3 is pretty good. Back to the Future 2 is not good.
No.
It's fun to watch, but man, it's fucking that
Just because Biff's old age makeup makes him look like the brow of Dick Tracy.
Oh man, watching. So they just came out with a Back to the Future Blu-ray set, and Doc's. I never understood as a kid. It never occurred to me that Doc in 1985 is supposed to be substantially older than Doc in 1955. To the point they like put old age makeup on and gave him like different hair, like a different wig. And it wasn't until I was just watching Back to the Future again and like in HD on the Blu-ray just like this past week, it was on the day that like I essentially had like a little Back to the Future marathon by myself, that you really see that like they put on like latex, like fake rubber neck on. And this isn't the first Back to the Future. This is even Back to the Future 2 where the makeup appliances get really ragged. But
should have hired the people that did Baron Munchausen.
Oh man, yeah. That's funny because that guy... I don't know, man. It's hard to beat Italian when it comes to like movie production stuff. It's hard to beat the Italians, especially because like Terry Gilliam, he rounded up some like old ass fucking Italian guys to work on Baron Munchausen. That's why that movie went like triple over budget.
Yeah.
But of course, Wednesday, October 21st, 2015 was finally over. Day in which Doc and Marty go back to the future, and visit 2015 and have to keep Marty's kids from fucking up the future and all kinds of stuff. And which you think he could have fixed, Doc could have fixed just by going back to Marty and Jennifer and saying, guys, don't fuck. Use a condom.
Hey, don't
Problem
raise
solved.
Stupid kids. Your kids are pretty dumb. Try not to raise dumb kids.
It's like overpopulation in the future. And
yeah, why did he have to go into the future to stop that? Couldn't he have just waited like
well, they had 30 years
in the past and be like, hey guys, okay, just move. You know what? Move out of town. Yeah. Just go to anywhere else but here.
Apple stock, invest, but move out. To stay away from New York in 2001. What else? Yeah,
you just wanted to make that joke.
Well, I'm trying to think of any like if you could go back in time, 30 years, and warn yourself, like give yourself 3 pieces of advice, what would you choose? If you could pull a Doc giving advice to Marty. What in terms of avoiding things, invest in that. It has to be like very basic things. It can't be like, you can't just like write down a whole
2001. Jeez, I don't know.
Yeah.
Google was already a powerhouse by then, so you couldn't invest on that.
Wait, what was?
Google. Amazon was already a powerhouse.
No, but like if you're going back to 1985, though.
1985 when I was 5 years old.
1985.
I'd go up to 5-year-old or probably more likely 4-year-old me and be like, all right, listen up here, kid. You're probably not going to remember this.
Right. Well, you can write it down, put it, say, give it to your folks and say, hey, you know what? Little Daniel Rudis, you don't know me, but I'm going to write down some instructions for him in a safety deposit box that'll open when he's like 16. Yeah, I would go back. Yeah, invest in Apple, invest in Google. Would that be one thing? I guess I have 2 more things I could tell my previous self.
It's all investment oriented.
Kill J.J. Abrams and take over Episode 7. Don't get too worked up about the Star Wars prequels.
It's true because if J.J. Abrams didn't exist, they definitely would have given the prequels to you.
I would have been one step closer. That thing where like
just kill everybody who was picked before you.
Like technically, if you're like the janitor at a high school, you're technically in line succession to like become president if everyone in the government dies before you do. That kind of thing.
I see.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else.
Back to the
if anyone listening to this
day happened and
knows 3 things that they would go back to tell themselves in 1985, assuming you were alive in 1985, or at least instructions you could leave for yourself in 1985 that could be somehow be given to you when you're older, but that you could still take advantage of in the last 30 years. Man. But yeah, so
I just leave myself an arbitrary note that makes no sense, like watch out for rabbits, and you'd be my whole life growing up paranoid about bunnies.
Well, of course,
joke on myself.
You could tie our whole conversation together and say, hey, don't throw away your Nintendo games. Keep
true.
the boxes. Actually, you know what?
I did keep the boxes. My shit's
you could actually write down a list of like buy these Nintendo games.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Except
I wouldn't make money because I hold on to that shit. I'm not gonna sell them.
Yeah, that's true. Man, I'm still kicking myself. I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast. One of the first times I really thought about game collecting in terms of like having access to games for cheap and thinking I should maybe buy some of these that might be worth something that someday was I think it was maybe like the same year that the Super Nintendo came out. I was at a Toys R Us. This must have been like 1990, 1991. And Toys R Us was selling, they had the pallets full of NES Zelda, the very first Zelda game, that they were selling for $5, brand new, still shrink wrapped, $5 a piece.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking back then, I didn't have too much money in my pocket, but so it wasn't really like a really serious thing. But I remember thinking, the first time ever in my life, I ever thought, wow, I should, if I had like $1,000, I would sit down and buy like all of these things and see how much they would actually be worth in like 30 years. And if I had done that, I mean, Zelda's not that.
Yeah, but sealed shit. People pay dumb money for sealed shit.
That's the thing. If I could like just take that stuff and put it in a bomb shelter for 30 years, I could be. I'd have retirement money right now, essentially. But that's our Back to the Future talk, I guess.
Cool.
Did you do anything special for Back to the Future? The fact that it was called Back to the Future Day.
I avoided Twitter like the plague is what I did for Back to
Man, I thought it was... I knew the internet was going to explode over Back to the Future stuff, but I did not expect it to be... This sounds so stupid. I did not expect Back to the Future Day, quote unquote, to be so heavily commodified.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like I sound like a crazy person complaining about Christmas. But like the fact that you had Pepsi and Nike and all these this and that, and just like, damn. The fact that everyone was just calling it Back to the Future Day. It's Back to the Future Day. It's like a little like, ugh. Yeah. Pepsi was selling $20 bottles of Pepsi Perfect.
Yeah, I saw some people being like, I'm trying to buy a $20 bottle of Pepsi. What the fuck?
Oh man, one cool thing though. Again, you don't care too much about Back to the Future, but alongside the new Back to the Future box set they came out with, which actually comes in cool packaging. Mm-hmm. It comes in a little box that actually has a button on it that lights up so it looks like the flux capacitor inside the time machine. They came out with a book called like the Back to the Future complete like historical visual encyclopedia or something. And the title sounds kind of goofy, but it's actually assembled with the cooperation of the people who made Back to the Future, and it really is just like a making of the Back to the Future movies. Yeah. There's a whole lot of text about how like the movies were conceived and filmed and stuff like that, but like lots of pictures, behind the scenes photos of like filming and deleted scenes, and lots of great concept art for all this stuff, which is especially great because all the all the 2015 stuff, you get to see all the costume designs for what everyone was supposed to be wearing these days. And the coolest thing is the book is filled with a whole bunch of like little like replicas of props from the movies that like you can actually like take out. Like there's like prop replica photos of like characters. Like there's a lenticular photo of Marty and his brother and sister that like, if you twist the lenticular photo, like the brother and sister will disappear, just like the photo in the first Back to the Future movie. There's a copy of the letter that Marty writes to Doc warning him that he's going to get shot on the night he goes back in time. That's like in an envelope and everything like that. Looks just like the movie, and just lots of cool little stuff like that. Yeah. Like a Save the Clock Tower flyer, like stuck in between the pages of the book, and just little things like that. It's a pretty cool little book. If you really dig Back to the Future, check that out. It's on Amazon. Yeah, just like Back to the Future Visual History Encyclopedia or something like that. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I'm glad you found something you like so much.
What else? Did you just delete half your stuff?
Yeah, it wasn't worth talking about. Mine, Rock Band 4 is more Rock Band. So,
did you buy? Did you buy a guitar?
I did buy a guitar.
Is it good?
It's fine. It's exactly like the old Rock Band.
Oh, okay. Good talk.
So, yeah, it's more Rock Band. I don't, and it's missing shit. So like,
it's missing shit.
Yeah, like Rock Band 3 had stuff in it that this one doesn't have.
Well, Rock Band 3 had the guitar, but what else is it missing?
So, like the customizable, like, okay, so you want to make a band, right?
Yeah.
And you want all of your characters in your band to be your own creations,
right?
Oh,
I heard about this. Yeah, this is bullshit.
You can't do that. Only the character that you're currently playing as will be a character you created. All the others will be just a character, a pre-made character that exists.
Because I know Guitar Hero, which also just came out, they have pre-filmed. It's like live video backgrounds.
Yeah.
For Rock Band, is it still like the digital, like like the 3-dimensional video game characters like running around on a stage, just like all the other Rock Bands?
Yeah.
I guess yeah. So there's no reason why they can't just like make those characters like things that you can. I mean, granted, I'm sure Rock Band. This is an experiment to see how popular this series can be again. So they only want to invest in so much time and money in this thing, but that's
it's always baffling when games go back on and take away features that were in a previous version.
Can you name the bands?
Yeah.
Okay, so at least you can do that. Yeah,
you can.
I remember Rock Band. Not only could everyone in the band have very specific characters that they could design with like tons of customization features, hats and clothes and hair and stuff. I remember you could upload that to the Rock Band website and spend like $100 per figure. You get like 3D printed figures of all your band members too.
Yeah. There's it's. I mean, aside from that, all the stuff is fine. It's more Rock Band.
Yeah,
so
a long ways from that.
Did you?
Oh! I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you actually got around to playing the new Assy Creed.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about. I got to play. Myself, I got to play 5 minutes of it until I got to a point where I thought the game was busted.
Oh.
No, this is the thing. So the last 2 Assassin's Creed games I bought, they were so broken that I only got like a little bit into the game before I hit a game-breaking bug, and I had to set it aside, and I never picked it up again.
Nice.
Why I'm so stupid to do that a third time. This is my fault more than anything else. So anyway, I got to this part. Literally, it's in the tutorial stage, 5 minutes into the game. There's a part where it's your first assassination. And I got all the way up to the point where I'm supposed to find the guy, except like the little green dots that's supposed to be the marker in the environment where I'm supposed to reach that'll start the cutscene where I assassinate the guy, is on the other side of this wall inside this like industrial warehouse where all this like this shit's being built. Like it's all Victorian.
They're making
London.
fish and chips in there, are they?
Oh man, the first I think the second line of dialogue you hear in the game is like, "Oh, what's all this then?
What's all this thing?"
That's my go-to English joke, and that made me laugh my ass off. So I thought I was stuck because there's no doors, and I was looking because you're in this big warehouse with this giant wall, and I'm trying to look for a door because the green marker I need to get to complete this mission is just obviously right on the other side of this this wall that this catwalk I'm in just dead ends right into this wall, and I cannot figure out for the life of me how to get on the other side of the wall and hit that checkpoint and just continue the game. So I thought it was easier for me to assume that the game was bugged than that I was doing anything wrong.
Yeah.
While I was playing, Maxwell Motley, listener, sometimes special co-host of this podcast, she was playing the game she lives in Wales. And so she hopped on to talk to me. She just wanted to see what I thought about the game. And she was like, "What the fuck are you talking about? How are you not getting past that tutorial stage?" And because we're both on PlayStation 4, she remembered that they have the share play thing where you can take over the other person's game remotely. Mm-hmm. And so that's what she did because she just wanted to see if my game was busted or if I was being an idiot. And so she actually played my game to me, and she actually found the door I had to go through. So for once, it wasn't the game being busted. It was me being an idiot.
Was it you being an idiot, or was it bad level design?
It was also bad level design. But at least the game was working the way it's supposed to. It wasn't so she actually, got me to the next checkpoint, and I was this close to quitting the game. If she had not texted or messaged me and said, "Hey, Bill, you want to hang out?" Or I can watch you play Assassin's Creed. I would have just given it up, and I would have never kept on playing this game. But yeah, she essentially solved the tutorial for Assassin's Creed for me. Yeah. But that wasn't the coolest part. What happened next was
I hope that's not the coolest part.
I know. It's a great
I almost gave up on playing the game. It was pretty cool.
Molly showed me how to walk through a door. But yeah, so Max wanted to show me some stuff that happens later on in the game. She wanted to show me what the actual city looked like because she's from Wales, but she's lived a long time in London, and the game takes place in 1868 era London. Mm-hmm. And so she wanted to show me all the stuff that's in the game that still exists to this day. So she turned on her game and her PlayStation 4, and she let me watch her. I wasn't controlling her game. I was just watching her. She was essentially Twitch streaming, but I was the only audience member. And so for 2 hours this afternoon, she just kind of gave me a guided tour of London, of all the major landmarks that are still there, and this is over here and stuff. And we even got to the point where there was one part where I was like, "Oh, this kind of looks like the rooftops at the end of Skyfall," when James Bond is standing on top of the roof and talking to Miss Moneypenny, and right before he goes talk to M. And I was like, I wonder if this could be that. And we started looking it up on a map where she was in the game compared to real life in Google Maps, and we realized we're actually only a couple blocks away, and she actually got there and actually pretty much found the spot inside Assassin's Creed where that part in Skyfall was filmed. and just kind of like running around. Like she climbed up on top of St. Paul's, and then she showed me like St. Pancras Station, which is this big train station in the game, which still exists in real life, which was the inspiration for King's Cross and Harry Potter. And it was just really cool. It was worth me buying the game just so it would inspire her to get in touch with me so I could watch her play her copy of the game for 2 hours. But like, again, it's someone who lives in London that actually sees all this stuff all the time in real life. Yeah. Like she was pointing out to me that like there's a bunch of, oh God, are they called bollards? There's posts in all the sidewalks in the game. And she was explaining to me that like those are actually like hitching posts for horses back in the day, but they still exist in London. They never got rid of them. And a lot of the posts in the game are actually when England realized it didn't need so much of a giant navy anymore. They took a lot of the cannons from the navy ships and actually buried them in cement and used them as hitching posts all throughout London, which a lot of them still exist throughout modern day London today. And so she was showing me different, like just like weird little bits of like architectural trivia about London that she could show me through a video game. The game's like that well put together. It's not a perfect one-to-one replica of London. You know, it's compressed. It's like a Grand Theft Auto game, but like the general highlights, the fact that like, I don't know, it's just... That's my favorite part of the Assassin's Creed games is, like, video game is holodeck. I'm not really that worried about it killing anybody or the story, but just kind of like just going to another time and place.
That rich Assassin's Creed story, though.
I know, Jesus Christ. Even this game.
I realized I have played several Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah.
I haven't beaten a single one.
You're not missing anything.
I always get like 40 or 50 hours in, and I'm like, well...
Assassin's Creed 2 and 3. Well, that was Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed 2 Part 2.
Brotherhood.
They were pretty good, and the stories were actually okay. I know they came out with Assassin's Creed 2 Part 3, where you're playing as old Ezio. The character was introduced in the second game. I can't believe you can say that. And I remember Andy talking about how much he really liked that game, but I was hoping that like that game would end with you playing him dying as an old man, because the very first game that he's in starts off with you playing him as a baby, like right after he's born. Yeah. I love the idea of there being a trilogy of games, regardless if it's Assassin's Creed or anything else, where like they would literally have you playing someone from birth to death. And she said, no, actually Assassin's Creed 3 ends. So he's old, but like you don't get to see him die or anything like that. I was like, oh, fuck that shit then. That's a wasted opportunity they could have done for some kind of cool, I don't know, thematic, I don't know. But yeah, so Assassin's Creed. You play as a lady in this one.
Yay!
Yay! But they're gonna put out Jack the Ripper DLC, so you can also play as someone who gets his jollies off on murdering women.
Wait, you play as Jack the Ripper?
That's supposed to be DLC that's coming out for this game. I don't know if you're gonna be doing parkour and stuff. I guess you have to if it's an Assassin's Creed.
Parkour. Oh man, that could be incredibly distasteful.
I guess we'll find out the hard way. Man, did you ever see Time After Time?
Yeah.
It stars Clockwork Orange and Tron. It's H.G. Wells. He builds a time machine. It's from like 1979, stars Malcolm McDowell as H.G. Wells. Turns out he builds a real time machine that is stolen by Jack the Ripper, which is played by oh god. Yeah, it's the bad guy from Tron.
This sounds vaguely familiar, but I don't think I've seen it.
And Jack the Ripper, he takes the time machine and takes it to like modern day 1979. Well, that's because the movie was made in 1979. Modern day San Francisco, and starts killing people again. And H.G. Wells has to follow him into the future and like stop his wave of destruction.
Yeah, that sounds vaguely familiar.
David Warner.
What is your favorite like Jack the Ripper story?
What? Who has a favorite Jack the Ripper story?
Well,
that's a question.
Telling of it.
Really?
Like From Hell or
From Hell was terrible. I know it's based off a comic book.
That's the only name I can think of. I saw one that starred...
Time After Time, because David Warner is a good Jack the Ripper.
I saw one that starred, I think it was, what's his name? Alfred from Batman.
Really?
Michael Caine. Michael Caine.
Oh, I thought you were talking Michael Goff.
No,
really?
Michael Caine. Yeah. As an investigator, and that one was pretty entertaining. I saw it at like 2 a.m. like on a Thursday morning or something.
Jack the Ripper. I need to watch more stuff with Michael Caine in it. So this was a TV series. Was this like a BBC series from like 1988?
I don't know. I saw it all in one chunk one night.
Yeah, it looks like
It
it.
was
Well,
pretty
yeah, it's Michael
interesting.
Caine and Jane Seymour.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting little thing.
Oh, okay. I never heard about that before.
Yeah.
So people playing at home, go watch Jack the Ripper. Well, it is a week until Halloween,
Yeah.
so it is appropriate. If I don't know, something about Jack the Ripper seemed like such a fucking asshole. Granted, any serial killer's an asshole.
What? Jack the Ripper was an asshole. I don't know if I can handle you taking these hard stances.
I
like
know,
this.
seriously. You know what? 9/11 should have never happened. Jack the Ripper. I've known guys who have like gotten really into Jack the Ripper stuff in a way that's like, man, you're creeping me the fuck out. And I can be a creepy guy myself. I'm not like some bright shining example of like how to be a stand-up dude, but like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you're talking about a guy who's talking about buying his Zentai suit.
That's true.
So I would just look like a big green pear with a boner, like little croissant-sized boner, chasing people.
Hey, Bill, did you have anything else to say about the Star Wars trailer?
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, that's the big thing that happened this week.
It is.
You
put out a special podcast that if you want to listen to Bill try to buy tickets to Star Wars for half an hour, you are welcome to go listen to that.
Exactly. Did you care about this new Star Wars trailer at all?
I watched it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna get all slobbery over it because I mean
it's not worth it. Although it is fun to do though. Hence us getting all slobbery over it and recording a podcast about us getting all slobbery over it.
Yeah, I mean I don't really get excited over stuff, so my expectations aren't high. They're not low.
You're a cool, considerate man.
I really don't have expectations. So if I go in and it's good, I'll be like, "Oh, that was good."
Do you need tickets to see it? Did you buy tickets?
I am not going opening day because I'll be sitting in the theater, and every time somebody appears on screen, the whole audience will applause, and I hate that shit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Depending on the audience, the opening night audience for that is going to be likely to be insufferable. But
there's no way in hell you could. I mean,
yeah, no. Bobby Roberts and I were chatting on email, and he specifically got a tickets for the 7. So all the first screenings are 7:00 that night.
Yeah,
and we accidentally bought tickets to the same screening because our logic was, well, it's whatever theaters that's closest to both of us. Mm-hmm. But we specifically went for the 7:30 screening because it's half an hour after the first one. Also, it's 2D, whereas the 7:00 screenings are all 3D. And so we thought that might act as a lightning rod where the hardest of the hardcore motherfuckers would go to that first 7:00 3D screening, and like maybe some slightly more genteel people who got their shit together would have the balls and the maturity to wait for the 7:30 screening an hour later.
Is this post filming 3D or did they film on 3D?
It's post, yeah. No, they did not film it native. I guess they filmed some parts natively in IMAX, and so there's some IMAX screenings too. But it's not the whole movie only, which I never understand. Like, how does that work?
I don't know.
Because I guess the Batman movies some parts were filmed in IMAX, but
I don't know. So do you have any other thoughts that you didn't get out on your special Star Wars podcast?
Yeah, it's the movie. The trailer looks good though, and I'm glad that the movie confirms that the movie really does look like Daisy Ridley is the main character. You've got the main character of a Star Wars movie as being a lady. So everything else aside, it's kind of worth getting excited about that. But yeah, I bought 12 tickets for that movie.
Yeah, you sure did.
I bought 6 tickets to do 2 different screenings that night.
Well, the nice thing is it's not like you're going to have a problem finding people to take those tickets from you.
Exactly. Well, that's why I bought so many. Not going to scalp them, but I know plenty of people who wanted to see that movie who did not have the fucking patience to wrestle with Fandango all fucking night as Fandango burned like the sea beams off the shoulder of Orion, the warships off the... I don't know why I'm suddenly going to a Blade Runner place, but...
I don't know why you are either.
Okay, so we should take a break and do the Geek Week news and review?
Sure, we'll do that!
Okay. We'll be back.
Imperial.
Okay, it's up to you if you wanted to actually take an actual break or just dive into the next stuff.
7:30? No, we can just dive in.
Okay, that's the hard because, like I said, like
I might need to take a break in about half an hour to feed the dogs if they actually
be done in half an hour.
If they actually get up in my grill, but
okay,
we'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll charge through then. So yeah, you're fine if I just start off again.
Yeah.
Okay. And welcome back. This is the Geek Week news and review for this week's Boy Howdy. Wait, that's a terrible start. Okay, let me try this again. Welcome back. It's the Geek Week News and Review, starring Bill Mudgeon and Daniel Rutis.
Yeah. Hey, Bill.
What up?
Gilmore Girls is coming back via Netflix.
Yeah, so you tell me about this. Yeah, I know you're the big Gilmore Girls fan here.
Apparently, Gilmore Girls is coming back via Netflix.
Yeah. Well, who's your favorite Netflix? Oh, wait.
My favorite Netflix.
My favorite Netflix album is the Red Album. Have you ever seen Gilmore Girls?
No.
Gilmore Girls is good. I haven't seen it in a decade. Maybe it's not as good as I remember it being, but Gilmore Girls is pretty.
I bet the fashions are on point.
That's nice thing with Gilmore Girls because they weren't too worked up about fashion. So it's not like, even though one of the main characters was a high school kid, it's not like she was dressed like. It's not like going back and watching The Wizard or something where like she's like totally dressed up in the latest fashions. Yeah. Although her friend was in a grunge band, and that music may have not aged very well.
Probably not.
But Gilmore Girls was kind of cute. I know like, people loved to make fun of Gilmore Girls, but it was cute. And in fact, actually watching Once Upon a Time with my housemate tonight, I recognized, I think that there's a diner that everyone eats in. I think it's Luke's Diner from Gilmore Girls. Gilmore Girls is good. I'm just throwing that out there.
I've never seen it, but I am deadly sure that it is better than Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. I'm kind of bummed because the dude who played the father of the Gilmore Girls was he the father or the grandfather? He's the guy who played the head bad guy in The Lost Boys, and he just died not long ago.
Oh, okay.
Which you know, because I made you guys watch Lost Boys for the first time last Halloween.
No, not me. I've seen it before because it's one of my wife's favorite movies.
Was it his name Edward Herman? Yeah, no, that's Gilmore Girls. That's good. There's nothing wrong with that coming back.
Nothing wrong with that.
What else?
What else? Hey, also, Yahoo lost $42 on Community and other two original shows it tried to produce. Bill, did you mean to write like 42 million, or did they lose $42?
I meant to write 42 million, but like I actually just wrote $42, and I actually laughed for a moment. You know what? That's good.
Tell me how they lost this whopping $42.
How do you lose $42 million in Community? How can Community be that expensive to produce? I know
because the people on it think they're more important than they are, and probably ask for a lot of
marketing and stuff too. I mean, granted, this is also, like I said in the show notes, it's not like, just Community.
How much? I know
it's two other shows, but
I know Community isn't like Friends, but think about how much money like them or the people from Seinfeld were asking for per episode.
The head guy in Community, his only other gig is to show up and fuck up hosting the video game awards every December.
He's on The Soup.
Is he on The Soup?
Yeah, on the E channel.
The funny thing, he's actually not that bad on Community, but man, he is fucking noxious on anything else I've ever seen him on.
I don't care about Community because it had Chevy Chase on it, and anything that is associated with Chevy Chase, I don't want any part of.
It
might be a good show, but I've never seen it. I don't want it because it's got Chevy Chase.
Vacation movies?
No, because it's got Chevy Chase.
Man, have you ever seen The Money Pit?
Yes.
Money Pit's fucking hilarious. It has nothing to do with Chevy Chase. Money Pit's fucking hilarious.
That part where Tom Hanks gets stuck in the floor with the rug.
The Care Bears are here.
That's good stuff.
Man, the Money Pit existing is almost worth what's her name leaving Cheers just to make that movie. Yeah. Fucking A. And I love Cheers, and I was super bummed when Shelley Long left that show. But
I hated her character.
You know what, the whole point that you're supposed to hate her, but like you go back and watch it, she is like Pulaski on Star Trek The Next Generation, where as a kid she's grating, but like when you come back as an adult, you're like, okay, I can see what the point of her character is.
She's gotta be super grating.
I still like Shelley Long better than I like what's her face who replaced her.
I don't. We're gonna agree.
And I like what's her face who replaced her. Savick. What the hell's her actual name? Fat Actress.
Fat Actress.
No, she had that reality show called Fat Actress.
Oh. I'll let you look it up.
Yeah, let me look it up. It's not Robin Curtis.
I don't remember her name either.
Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, her.
Yeah, I'm not saying she is
fine. She's a completely different character.
Well, that's what I kind of like, the fact that they just didn't try to make Shelley Long 2.0. But they actually
but they did a fine job making Coach 2.0 with Woody Harrelson.
They were both so stupid.
Dumb, like, well-meaning guys.
Yeah.
Hey, what is YouTube Red?
Oh shit! I actually totally forgot to look this up.
Oh, good.
YouTube Red. All I know is that YouTube, it's YouTube's new subscription service where you can pay $10 a month to get rid of ads. Essentially, what Hulu Plus was supposed to be. Although, if you subscribe to new Hulu Plus, you get shitloads. You don't get shitloads of commercials. You get the same 2 commercials aired every fucking commercial break.
Hulu, didn't they just put out another subscription where you can?
Yeah, there's some kind of new tier or something like that, which I don't know if it's like Hulu Plus or what.
That reminds me, I need to cancel my Hulu account.
Really?
I never use it. Yeah.
I don't use. I was only using Hulu to watch The Daily Show.
The only reason I signed up for it was because they had every single episode of MXC on it.
What the hell is that?
MXC is that Takashi's Castle dubbed over.
Is that still not on there?
No, it's on him. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
But that's the reason I got Hulu is to watch it.
Fresh Meat from the UK. That's a pretty good show. There's I don't know. You know what? Because I watch so much stupid stuff on YouTube these days, I actually, this is funny because now they have subscription service. I actually watch enough stuff on YouTube these days that I kind of stopped watching Netflix and.
Well, okay, but why would you need YouTube Red? We can just get ad block.
Which, yeah.
I haven't seen an ad on YouTube in years.
They, just in the last couple months, they started, well, they changed their API for YouTube.
Bill, are you eating?
I had a mint.
You son of a bitch.
The mint is gone. That's the only crunch you're going to hear this.
My ears heard that.
Yeah, YouTube did change their text, so I have started, for the longest time, I didn't see ads, but within the last couple months, I did start to see ads. And I'm sure that was part of the lead up to the subscription service, which is supposed to nuke ads.
They could have been the company that bought AdBlock.
Wait, someone bought AdBlock?
Uh-huh. And
wait, when the hell?
It was an undisclosed company, like a week or two ago.
Like that's YouTube's. They would have the money and the reason to do it.
Yeah. But there's, other ones will pop up.
It's funny too because for the longest time I didn't start using AdBlock until earlier this year, and there was something. Somebody needed me to see if their site still worked if AdBlock was still on. If you were browsing their website with AdBlock, so I had to download AdBlock. They had to tell me how to download and install AdBlock onto Chrome. And I did, and I never turned it off, but it was so nice after getting it installed that I kind of forgot that it was still on until I would start using another browser to browse the web. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with the internet? I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't have ad blocker. Ad blockers are the shit.
Yeah, I use it mostly for like YouTube and stuff like that where the ads are so abrasive, but like any webcomic pages I visit, I turn off ad block pages because...
Which is a shame because the webcomic pages could actually use that money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I make sure that ad block doesn't run on those pages.
You do the whitelist stuff?
Yeah.
Because I don't even have whitelist. That's how little I know ad block. I need to. Fuck. Ad block is, man, the internet is so terrible with that. Okay, shut up, Bill. Well, I did see one thing complaining. Some content creators are claiming that YouTube is threatening to delete any content unless you also sign up for this YouTube Red service somehow.
Beautiful.
Again, I meant to,
that's a great weekend. Way to get people that are trying to use your service to go to a different service.
Yeah. Is there any big YouTube competitors out there right now?
Vidmo, I guess, is kind of, but not really.
Yeah, that's the thing. Google's got a monopoly on that shit.
Yeah.
I'm
trying to heard.
Think. Although I guess they are like as part of your YouTube Red subscription, you're supposed to get like exclusive new TV shows from like PewDiePie. And one thing that alarms me is that the new president of YouTube is someone who is like the president of MTV for like the last 10 years. And like if they're trying to turn YouTube into like have like MTV like let's say like the one of the best things about YouTube is that it's so nebulous and there isn't like guided content that they're always trying to steer you towards. It's just like this totally democratized, like nebulous pile of garbage.
It's true
that everyone can kind of root through at their own speed.
If you want to see a pile of garbage, just take a look at Bill's favorite list.
Oh man, yeah, that's the thing. I love to nitpick through that garbage pile, but if the garbage pile, if they're gonna try to shape it into this big thing, I'm like, fuck you.
Every now and then, you pick up something and are like, oh somebody only used half of this Q-tip.
Have you ever heard of? Wait, I gotta look up. What's my most recent? I'll have to add like a link to my favorites in the show notes. Today, the most recent thing I favorited is what is this called? Lancelot Link, Secret Chimp.
Fantastic.
This is a show about a chip who is a secret agent and he goes on adventures. This one he's fighting Dr. Ape and the Lance of Arabia. It's oh my gosh, fucking hilarious. It's stupid as shit. It's great.
Kojima officially gone from Konami as of October 9th.
Mm-hmm. And the weird thing is, Konami came out and said they weren't even aware that this happened. Which that's a total perfect end note to their whole relationship, where there's like, oh, what?
Konami, man. I hope they change their name and just vanish forever.
Yeah.
I mean, jeez.
I would like to see a Castlevania picture.
Remember in the 90s when anything with a Konami on it name was like, you would buy it because it was a symbol of quality?
I remember in the 80s, that's what that was. Man, like fucking like the early days of the NES, man, Konami and Capcom, those were the two companies that if you saw their name on a game, you picked that shit up. And even if it wasn't great, it was at least pretty good. I remember playing the fuck out of Russian Attack at the arcade, not even the arcade. It was like the 7-Eleven mom and pop magazine shop right around the corner. And that was like one of their first NES games. And I loved the shit out of that.
Could you imagine what would happen to Konami if Japan decided to outlaw pachinko?
I guess that would never happen because I know gambling is outlawed in Japan, but like they very specifically turned such a very specific blind eye to pachinko. But yeah. I mean, it's not like I want to wish ill will against Konami. I do. I mean, granted,
at least the current president.
Konami had not. It's been so long since Konami had consistently put out anything good anyway. Like I feel like this is kind of inevitable. I could see if they were just like up until like a couple of years ago knocking out tons of great stuff, and suddenly they just strangled that baby in its sleep.
Yeah,
I mean, part of me like
Konami is the Walter White of video games.
Konami did Silent Hill, right?
Yeah.
And you loved okay. See, my only real interest beyond like their output, like in the NES days, was pretty much just Castlevania. Metal Gear was okay, but Castlevania was my bread and butter. Mm-hmm. And they haven't put out a good Castlevania game in like 7 or 8 years. So I'm kind of.
But all the 3D ones.
You know what? Actually, the Lords of Shadow wasn't terrible. At least they put some money and effort into it. Like it had it looked really pretty. And went on for way too long. It had terrible.
They didn't want to do any more 2D Castlevania games because nobody wants 2D Castlevania games.
Yeah, that was a hard. See,
everybody in the world said, "Yes, we do," and they said, "No, you don't."
That broke my heart. When they stopped making 2D Castlevanias, that's when I stopped caring about Konami. Yeah. And that was the only thing I really cared about them anyway. Was
Kojima has a non-compete clause until December, and then come December, we get to find out who is crazy enough to hire him and have him spend all their budget.
Well, the joke everyone's been making that he'll inevitably show up the Video Game Awards in December and announce a gaming Kickstarter in front of like the whole audience and have a big interview with Jeff Keighley or something like that.
Yeah, but his games cost so much. I can't imagine him doing Kickstarter.
Man, it's been okay. Order of Ecclesia, the last 2D Castlevania game, came out in 2008. Jesus Christ.
So upsetting.
Fucking 7 years ago.
Yeah. No, I don't see him. I mean, it's possible he might try Kickstarter, but there's no way Kickstarter could afford him.
On one hand, I mean, I fucking hate Kojima. I don't hate Kojima.
You hate his stories.
I hate his story. I don't wish him ill will.
He's really good at making games. He is really bad at making stories.
People get too on about him
with me on that, but his stories are just ridiculous.
I think as a human being, he's kind of a. He's a creepy dude. And he's creepy in that Japanese otaku way where no one's ever really told him no. Or like, hey man, maybe some of this shit ain't cool.
You look at the same like people in the video game in Japan of his same like era, and they're all kind of like him. Like the dude who was in charge of Dead or Alive.
Yeah,
like those kind of people where they don't quite get that what they're doing is like, no, put more boob physics on that. They don't get that that's kind of weird. Like,
yeah, they kind of like relics and they don't even realize they're. Well, I guess they really realize. But
then again, the nice thing about Kojima is he does like Snake's ass was very prominent in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like
it was
super hard. So he's not just sexist against ladies. He sexualizes the dudes as well.
But Metal Gear Solid 5 was fucking awesome though. At the same time, terrible story, dumb characters, but that was a good song to go out. Well, that's the thing is, so I don't know what.
Speaking of Metal Gear Solid 5, you mentioned last week on this podcast that they were gonna like start charging people that play in offline mode.
Yeah.
I tried to find information on that. I wasn't able to find any information.
It's an offline tax. It's just like this is.
Yeah, but I
that
hadn't been able to
announced.
find any information on that. Where'd you hear that?
Metal Gear. It was NeoGaf and a couple other places where people were just like, "Oh my god, I'm suddenly being docked like $25,000. Or was it $250,000 for?" I mean, there's enough that like let's see, offline tax, Metal Gear Solid 5. Let's see if there's any kind of.
I just didn't see any like actual websites covering it, and I can't imagine that with how much everybody.
Yeah, actually, if you type in just MGS5 offline tax, the first thing that still pops up is the NeoGaf thing.
Well, I'll have to uninstall my patches if I'm ever going to play that game again.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see any. Oh man. Actually, what I'm looking at right now, our episode last week complaining about that is like one of the like number 8 search result on Chrome and Google for Metal Gear Solid offline tax.
Good job.
We might get sued. I just sourced it. I just said it was a rumor coming from NeoGaf. I haven't played it myself since this shit happened. I'll just throw that.
Gotcha.
But would you put it past? I hate to be that.
No,
I don't want to justify
all.
Potentially bad news by saying, would you put it past them to do that? But yeah.
No. Moving on.
But who was like, what does Kojima do next, though? Assuming he stays in the game industry, like no one's going to trust. Like he's never going to get a Kickstarter big enough. I mean, it would be nice if he like did like another Boktai game where he did like a small. If he had to do another Kickstarter, it'd be great if he actually had a whole brand new idea. Didn't do something that was aping Metal Gear, that didn't require Metal Gear budget, but did some kind of fun. Like if he did like
could see Square Enix hiring him for something because they have time and money.
You think so?
Or Sony hiring him to do something exclusive because that's kind of how they're rolling lately. Yeah. But yeah, it's all speculations. It's hard to say what the heck they do. Maybe Nintendo will hire him to be the face of the NX. I'm just kidding. It would never happen.
What would they do for Nintendo? I guess they could. Oh man, could you imagine Kojima directing a Metroid game?
It would probably still be better than Other M.
I'm trying to imagine what Samus's outfit would look like because it would be like the suit with like the butt cheeks cut out.
Yeah.
And oh man, that would. Ugh.
I don't know if you heard about this. After 14 seasons and 248 episodes, Mythbusters is coming to an end.
Man, that's
I guess over 3,000 experiments done on the show.
Man, I feel bad because I feel like I'm missing out on the end of an era because I've not actually seen that much in the way of Mythbusters. Because Mythbusters only came on air 14 seasons. So 14 years ago.
Only 14 years.
Well, I haven't had cable in that decade and a half, and so I never really had a chance to just browsing through Discovery, just happen across Mythbusters or watch Mythbusters marathon or anything like that. But once they started uploading whole seasons of Mythbusters on Netflix, I did gorge the hell out of that, and that is a goddamn cute show.
I love Mythbusters.
I'm actually kind of surprised it's still around. It's one of those things when they first announced it was being canceled, I was like, really? I thought maybe it was already done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Adam and Jamie can't stand each other.
Really?
Yeah, they hate each other pretty much. They have a lot of respect for each other, but they can't stand each other.
I mean, I know the whole gist of the show is that they have such opposing personalities, but I don't know if in real life they were like.
In real life, they didn't talk or anything.
You would hope that they go to each other's kids' bar mitzvahs and stuff.
No, they can't stand each other.
I mean,
they can't even stand that. They don't like the sound of each other's voices.
How the hell did they end up doing a show together?
Well, they like I said, they respect each other a lot. Yeah. It's like you're working with somebody. You're not friends with somebody.
So it sounds like they're gonna. We don't have this as part of the show notes. From the last thing I heard is that I guess around New Year's they're gonna have a week and a half long marathon where they're gonna show all. What'd you put 248 episodes?
Jeez.
They're gonna air all of them back to back over the course of on Discovery Channel for over a week and a half. Yeah. And of course that's gonna end. I think it's gonna be the last episode
when FXX did that Simpsons marathon. How many episodes was that?
That was about a week's worth of episodes. That had to have been a better part of 1,000 episodes. Not close to 1,000, but it must have been good 600 or 700 episodes.
Because the Mythbusters are all, as Simpsons is a half an hour show, Mythbusters is an hour. So that's 248 hours of Mythbusters.
Simpsons,
which is a lot of hours.
Yeah, I remember the last time I watched The Simpsons, they were just celebrating their 200th episode, which must have been like season 6 or something. Yeah, man, it's really raining out there.
Son of a bitch,
motherfucker.
A map of Middle Earth, edited by Tolkien, was found this week.
Oh, we're not gonna talk anymore about like what's like any kind of MythBusters memories or anything like that.
Nah, because you weren't really into the show. I just thought it was.
No, I mean I know. Like actually, like I just don't have the same history. Oh, they're almost up to 600 episodes now. They're at the last one. 483 will 583 will be later on this season. No, but I guess writing was on the wall when they let go of the B team.
Yeah.
Which
they were entertaining.
The weird thing too, this doesn't seem like it's a voluntary, like they're being canceled. It's not like Adam and Jamie decided to wrap it up, because they talked about how they got the news from Discovery saying the ratings just don't match up anymore.
Yeah, I feel like they were kind of like, oh, but at the same time they weren't going to fight it, because
after 14 years, you think after a while you're like,
and think about how much work they put into all their stuff.
Yeah, Adam on Twitter was saying that like he works on that show 40 weeks out of the year. He has two weeks off where he doesn't have to worry about that show at all. But like, brutal scheduling. Yeah, and they're gonna land on their feet. I mean, they could spend the rest of their lives just like making money just from like giving talks about like blowing stuff up or working.
Yeah, you should. If you haven't, you should watch some of like Adam's builds he does on the Tested YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, I'm subscribed to the Tested thing, so I watch his builds. I also they'll do like roundtable podcasts in his little studio where he's like surrounded by all of his like, some of the props are like actually like bought from movies, but some of them are like handmade props and stuff. Yeah. And yeah, he's
since everybody's all about Star Wars this week, he does build like a super accurate replica of Han Solo's blaster.
Oh, that's one of the first things I ever saw him do, like the broom-handled Mauser gun. Yeah.
So
anyway, I'm sorry, you were talking about Tolkien?
Yeah, Middle Earth, an edited map, was found this week in an old copy of The Lords of the Rings owned by Tolkien's illustrator, Pauline Bynes. The big takeaway here being that Hobbiton is supposed to be on the same latitude as Oxford, England, and Minas Tirith was inspired by the mountaintop Italian city of Ravenna.
This is interesting because Tolkien always claimed, even though people would take the map of Middle Earth and like essentially lay it against a map of Europe, and people would point out that like the Shire is essentially where England is, Germany is essentially where Mordor is, France is essentially where Gondor is. He would say, like, no, it's not supposed to be Lord of the Rings. It's not supposed to be any kind of a metaphor or anything like that. It is interesting to see on these annotated hand-drawn maps.
Kind of known that it was, Middle Earth.
Like, he always kicked back against that idea. Yeah. Even though everyone just, like, pointed out, like, no, this is essentially, you just created, like, essentially the elves are the French. And he would be like, no, don't take it that literally. It's not supposed to be a one-to-one. Although, like, in the notes in this, he's, like, essentially saying, oh, yeah, put the Shire as Oxford.
Maybe he was a linguist. He wasn't somebody that made maps. Maybe he was just like, I'll just copy this here map.
Other than again, he really kicked against the idea that like, because people interpreted the ring as being like a metaphor for nuclear bombs. Because it's this magical thing that whoever gets their hands on could like destroy everyone else, and he really kicked back against that. Maybe he was more worried about the metaphorical stuff of the content, not so much of the layout of Middle Earth or anything like that. But yeah, it's just funny that someone's just looking through like the books that belonged to his old illustrator and said, "Oh yeah, here's a map that this illustrator lady passed back and forth between herself and Tolkien with a bunch of notes from Tolkien." So. Yeah, kind of cool. It's not every day you just crack open a book and go, oh yeah, here's a map of Middle Earth with Tolkien's writing saying, well, especially too, because he does specifically point out that Minas Tirith, the big kind of wedding cake looking city from Return of the King that everyone's trying to protect, is based off the Italian city of Ravenna, which I googled image search, which is like a little medieval city on top of a mountain. It doesn't look like Minas Tirith in the movies, but you can totally see like where he kind of came up. It's cool. Like, you can totally see. I don't know. It's awesome. It looks like it could. I don't know. It looks cool.
Wow. Yeah. Apparently, Brian Fuller is bringing back Amazing Stories.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think the original Amazing Stories was entertaining when they first came out. Yeah. I tried rewatching them with a buddy a while back. They did not hold up so great.
You know what? They didn't really hold up when they were brand new either. To tell you the truth.
I can see this not succeeding at all because nobody's going to remember what Amazing Stories
Well, there's definitely not any nostalgia for it.
Yeah. Except for you when you're looking outside.
Yeah, because hey, it's got a John Williams. It's a TV show with a John Williams theme song. And it's got, I still think Amazing Stories is one of the best closing credit things ever, because all it is, it's like, it's very Steven Spielbergian. The closing credits are just like dusk over like a Midwestern American town, is like the sun's going down and everyone's turning on the lights and everything, with the shadows drawing long and everything like that. Just kind of a cool end of the day, kind of like creepy shadows are crawling, kind of, I don't know. I always liked it.
Yeah, I mean, watching Amazing Stories was an event in a lot of households back in the day, but
that was,
you also only had 8 channels back in the day, so
that came out right when Spielberg was at the height of his Spielberginess. That was like 1985, and that's right when he was like at the height of his powers in terms of like pop culture influence. And he got he directed, and I think he either wrote or just came up with the story for like the first episode, which I remember watching when that first aired, was a Ghost Train episode. And he got like Bob Zemeckis to do an episode starring Christopher Lloyd. I remember I think like fucking who's the guy who did fucking Goodfellas? Directed Goodfellas.
Yeah, fucking
Scorsese.
Glasses.
Like I think Scorsese did an episode. But that's the funny thing, is the lesson of Amazing Stories, that you can get the greatest filmmakers alive to work on your TV show. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be any good.
Well, the writing wasn't. I mean, there was an episode where a guy got a magic remote, so come on.
There was an episode where like a guy's braces turned magnetic.
Yeah.
And there was also one where like aliens.
Amazing Stories was kind of like a less spooky version of Tales from the Crypt mixed with Goosebumps.
Yeah, and it kind of like didn't do either extreme very well, because it tried to be kind of like goofy, sentimental, kind of Spielbergian, but tried to be creepy at the same time, and like it was never really successful at both, but not like. Yeah, I remember there was an episode too where like aliens end up intercepting radio transmissions from the 1950s, so they come to Earth expecting all of humanity to be like living in the 1950s, and like there's these weird aliens. The aliens themselves are like these weird like little garbage pail kids with like shoe boxes for hands. And I looked up the Amazing Stories Wikipedia entry after hearing this news, and I saw that Batteries Not Included was supposed to be an Amazing Stories episode, but Steven Spielberg loved the idea so much. Good. Which, in retrospect, I like Batteries Not Included, but that is totally an Amazing Stories episode. Now that I think about it, yeah. And that's the thing. When you call it Amazing Stories, I know it's based off an old magazine called Amazing Stories. It's not like Spielberg came up with that name, but when you call your show Amazing Stories, you're kind of setting expectations pretty high. And if those stories aren't amazing, people are gonna fucking bitch about it. People dig, because those stories were kind of like, okay, this is like, you came up with this idea on the toilet. This is not like amazing. At least Tales from the Crypt, it's supposed to be kind of spooky, and it's not that hard to kind of like, if you have like low lighting and some blood and some like, you can create a spooky atmosphere. As it was, Tales of the Crypt was not called like Tales That'll Blast Your Ass to a Million Pieces. It was just Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Tales of the Crypt did have its moments though.
Yeah.
Anyway. You got to go, so we'll rush this up. We're at the end anyway.
You're fine. You're fine. There were some Day of the Tentacle remastered screens put out.
What'd you think? I know nothing about Day of the Tentacle, or I had not seen these screens either.
I'm going to say they look like how I want it to look. They look like the pixelated versions, kind of drawn better.
Did they go back and redraw everything?
Looks like.
Yeah, because what did Day of the Tentacle come out on? Was it just PC game?
Yes. Correcto.
Let's see.
It's got
wow.
It's got me more excited for it now that I know that like they're not totally redoing like all the art like they did in
like Monkey Island.
Yeah, they're not quote unquote improving the art. It's just basically looks like a drawn version of what they had in the computer.
Did they redraw it, or is it just pushed through a filter?
It looks redrawn because they had a kind of a filter they would push it through.
Okay.
Back in the day, and it just kind of smoothed out all the edges so everything.
Yeah, it kind of looks like, because I've seen some of the original screenshots, and I remember them kind of looking jagged, kind of like almost like an Amiga game. Yeah. And this almost kind of looks like when you're like using a Super Nintendo emulator that kind of smooths over the like all
but the lines are thinner in this.
Yeah, this it still looks organic. It looks like it's hand drawn. It's not just like extrapolated from like some kind of computer program or something.
Yeah, I don't have a lot to say except for it looked good.
Were you a big fan of the game?
I love that game.
Yeah. Do you like it? Is it better than the original Maniac Mansion?
I've never really played the original Maniac Mansion.
Oh, really?
But yes.
Man. Oh, Until Dawn. Do you have time for Until Dawn spoilers? Because I was about to say, Until Dawn is like the new Maniac Mansion, because you've got a bunch of kids. They can all die.
Yeah.
You're inside a house.
That was the Geek Week in Review where Bill wrote down some shit, and I read it to you.
So yeah, we're gonna do like a quick 5-10 minute Until Dawn spoiler cast. If you don't want to hear that, just tune out now. Just tune in back next week.
I mean, if you've got a current generation system, Bill, would you recommend people play it?
Yeah, depends on how much of an affinity for 80s slasher flicks you have. I totally had a good time. I could see some people bitching about this being a $60 game. But if you find it for half price, it would definitely, regardless if you don't like these if you can put up with a mild amount of blood and gore, the game is more suspenseful than it is disgusting or horrible. Yeah. I say that it's like a playable 80s slasher film, but
or if you're not interested in it at all, you could do like I did and watch Two Best Friends on YouTube. They did a full playthrough of it.
Yeah. What do you remember what the channel was?
Yeah, Two Best Friends.
Oh, just called Two Best Friends? Okay.
Yeah.
Might have to check that out. How long did it take them for them to get through the game?
They did
because it seems like a 10-hour game. There's 10 chapters. Yeah. Each one seems to be about an hour.
Yeah, I think they had 17 episodes at half an hour each.
Okay, that makes about sense. But yeah, no, it's not to get into spoilers just yet, but I just like it because it's not like the writing is really good. It's kind of good slasher flick writing, which is already kind of makes it at least as good as most video game writing.
Yeah.
The characters were defined well enough that I actually kind of really dug them. But
if you're interested in playing the games, tune out because the game has some plot twists and it is very spoilable.
Yeah, the whole thing is because everyone can die or survive.
If you're tuning out right now, be sure and check out Bill's other podcast, tardypodcast.com, where come Wednesday, I will chew his ear off talking about Silent Hill 2 and filling him in on all the information on that game.
Spoilers, it's a good game.
And if you're interested, you can check out the backlog. We've done a bunch of old movies. Some were absolutely terrible. Some were okay. Some were
good. Better.
Yeah,
especially once I get you to watch Winona Ryder, Little Women.
Well, that could turn out poorly for everybody.
We're gonna save that one for Christmas. Yeah.
Go ahead, give that a listen to, and if you're not going to listen to the spoilers, bye.
Yeah, that's tardypodcast.com.
Yep.
Okay, so this this right here is the Until Dawn's teeny tiny spoiler cast.
Spoilers.
Okay, so the Two Best Friends that you saw play this, what was their outcome?
They saved everybody.
Really?
Nobody died.
Were they using a walkthrough or anything?
Nope. They did it all blind.
That's the thing with this game, because Until Dawn, it's not just about making the right decisions, but also being very quick with these QTE events. And if you fuck up those QTE events, people can fucking die. So you can make all the correct moral decisions, and shit can get fucked up.
Yep. Especially in that last section, that last part.
That last section. So, man, they got through. There's not much to talk about it because I was going to compare my playthrough to theirs. I was doing really good. The weird thing is, so they serve.
Okay. So let's stop. So what'd you think of the? Okay, so first of all, the premise is really stupid. No, not full out, but I wanted to bring it up. The premise is really stupid, where two sisters die, and then the next year their brother's like, "Hey, come on out. We're gonna party like porn stars on the anniversary of my sister's disappearance."
Which is already okay.
He's Josh. That's Josh, played by Captain Bug Eyes.
Yeah. Who's the star of the new TV show Mr. Robot? I guess. Yeah. So I saw a promo for that the day after I started playing this game. I was like, that guy looks like Josh, and I had to Google it. I was like, oh yeah, that is Josh.
So you eventually have to choose between killing him or another chick, and
wait, do you?
Yeah, there's the point where they're hooked up to the bandsaw.
Okay, so I guess we don't have to explain the story because assuming if you're listening to this, you've played the game, so you don't understand.
Care. Well, you just want to listen to our melodious voices.
For death, at least from what I thought was in the game, one of the first things you do is two of the people from the group, the kind of he's not the quarterback guy because the quarterback guy is the skinny black guy, but kind of like the big white, kind of square jawed video game hero guy. Yeah. And his dumb blonde girlfriend, they decided to go off. Yeah, Jessica. They decided to go off to the
Mike
satellite
and
cabin.
Jessica. Yeah.
You didn't like Jessica?
No, I said Mike and Jessica.
Yeah, Mike and Jessica. They decided to go off to the satellite cabin because Jessica's having problems with the Asian lady Emma. And
they want to fuck.
They're down to fuck, which is funny because they're talking about how like there's like this satellite cabin out behind the main lodge, and so I'm thinking, okay, they have to like walk maybe 100 meters to get there. No, they have to walk 2 hours through an abandoned mine.
Yeah,
this is not just like, it's not like suddenly like the bridge to the cabin collapses and they have to walk a long way around. This is how you're supposed to get to this other cabin. Yeah, they have to go through an abandoned mine filled with like skeletons and shit. And when you finally get to the cabin, it's attacked by a monster who drags Jessica through the window of the door. At least that's what happened in my playthrough.
Yeah.
And she doesn't immediately die, but you essentially, as Mike, you run out into the snow to go rescue her.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets dragged down into these mines. And turns out,
chasing her, what path did you take?
I took because I was so worried about anyone dying that I took the slow and safe route, that's how you get her killed.
Yep, you got her killed by being safe.
Yeah, because like looking up I didn't look up a fact for everything after I was done, but like looking up because I was kind of curious to see how like the choices in this game work.
Yeah.
And so like after like my first person died, which was Jessica, I wanted to see like, okay, what exactly did I fuck up here? Yeah, and the fact did say, because I had chosen, if you do anything but choose the fastest possible option to get to her, like there's like 3 different choices times, well, three times that pop up where you can choose like the slow path or the fast path. Yeah, and if you have to choose the fast path every time.
I like that you were so paranoid about having somebody killed. You got someone killed.
Also, Jessica, of all the characters, she's the one that I like the least because she's the bubble-headed blonde bimbo.
Really, you liked her less than Emily, the bitchy one?
I thought Emily
was that was written to be the bitch stereotype.
I at least was a little more sympathetic to her because like, Jessica was just so stupid. I don't know, just something about her. I was like, it's not like I hate her. It's not like I was rooting for her to die, but I was thinking of all the characters I can lose, if she's the only one, and when she turns out to be dead, I was like, okay, that's cool. Which is funny. The very last chapter of the game, I'm just saying, I'm just calling it as it is. But then you find out the last thing of the game, she isn't dead. She's actually alive, because when she quote unquote dies, she gets all cut up by a monster or something you don't see, and she's like laying at the bottom of this like a mining elevator. And you go to save her, and suddenly the elevator collapses, and you think she's dead, and it turns out, like, no, she just spends the next 7 hours of the game knocked out unconscious at the bottom of the elevator shaft going into this mine. And so, turns out she's actually alive. But I still want to getting her killed anyway, because as she gets out, she starts walking around, she gets attacked by a fucking Wendigo. That's this, instead of moral choices... Well, yeah. This is just like how she wound up. She did die for sure. Was that like she runs up running from the Wendigo, and instead of moral choices or like directional choices, like how I was controlling Mike to save her, that put me in the position where I thought she was dead. This time it was all just pure action QTs, which I did all of them successfully except for the very last one, and she got stabbed. She got her jaw ripped off by a monster, and so she was dead. So that was my first death.
So, what did you think of the first plot twist where your first quote unquote death was watching Josh get cut in half by a giant saw
that was kind of like the highlight of the game for me, because I really actually kind of liked Josh, because I liked how kind of damaged he was. Because he really is kind of torn up by the fact that like his 2 sisters, because the whole setup of the game is that a year before, a bunch of the people up at the lodge, they kind of like manipulated one of his sisters into like getting naked in front of her crush, but they were like came out like, oh, surprise, you were getting naked in front of your crush, you're a horn dog. And she gets really embarrassed and runs out in the snow, and his other sister goes out after the first sister. They're twins, and they just never come back. And turns out, like, you see this cutscene that no one's privy to, that they fell down this hole and supposedly died.
Hannah and Beth.
So in that year since then, he's been really the brother Josh who survived and who was the host. His family owns the lodge that this whole game takes place in. He's been really torn up by the fact that, like, not even the fact that his sisters died, but the fact that they just went missing, so there's no sense of closure there, which I thought was also interesting too. And so he's kind of torn up, and there was a scene where, you're manipulated into a situation where I think you're playing as Mike again, the kind of the big white.
No, it'd be the guy with the
nerdy guy.
What's his name?
Yeah.
It's not Josh, is it? Is it Josh? Or is Josh the football
After a while,
player?
even though I played this game for 10 hours, I still just kind of referred to there's Willow, the nerd girl. There's nerdy guy, black quarterback guy, Asian lady, white slutty lady, superhero, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So okay, so white nerdy
Chris?
guy. Yeah, Chris. Is it Chris?
I think it's Chris.
I can't remember.
I didn't play this game, so you should know.
Okay, so white nerdy guy it essentially turns into the Saw thing where it turns out everyone's being attacked at the cabin while they're convened at the cabin on the 1-year anniversary of the death of their friends / the sisters of the one guy who's their host. And the serial killer shows up at the lodge, like kidnaps people, fucks things up, essentially divides the group up into a bunch of different little groups. One of the groups is comprised of this white nerdy guy and Josh, the leader, and Willow, the nerdy girl. I just call her Willow because she's like a red-haired girl who was always like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." You're manipulated into this situation where Josh, the host / brother of the two missing girls, and Willow, the nerdy girl, are tied up to this wall. Ashley, yeah,
yes, Ashley,
and this buzzsaw is going to come by and saw them both in half, and you have to choose one to survive. And I was like, fuck it. I don't have to be responsible for the death of these people. I'm not going to do anything. So I literally put the controller down to see what would happen. And buzzsaw automatically goes for Josh and cuts him in half.
Yeah.
Really, man, the way they show it too, that is pretty gory. There's some gory bits in this game. This is the most over the top, like he's screaming and you see his bottom half of his body drop and there's like cut intestines and blood just squirting everywhere. It is Evil Dead quality bullshit.
Yeah.
And so he ends up dead. Of course, the other girl ends up being let go, but she's all freaked out and stuff like that. So it turns into you, Chris, the white nerdy guy who had to make that choice, who I chose not to make that choice, but one of the guys still died, and Willow ended up escaping and all that stuff.
He used to call her Willow.
Well, that's what I just call her.
Even though I told you her name's
Ashley.
Yes.
Oh man, it's especially weird too because after you
just go to the Until Dawn wiki and there's a list of cast with the images there.
They did a good job though because I was looking at the special features. There's a whole like little suite of making of featurettes after the game is done that you can watch. Well, I think you could even watch them before you finish the game. But they had interviews with the whole cast and they did a good job. I mean, when you're watching those actual live actors like talk about stuff, I mean they did good. I mean that's their voices, that's their faces. Like
I don't know how they got their faces to be so damn impressive in this game, but
yeah, it's pretty goddamn good.
Louise.
But so what the first there's essentially two big twists in the game. The first big twist is revealed that Josh is alive. Josh is he's actually orchestrated this whole thing. He's been pretending to be a serial killer to tease everyone and to teach everyone a lesson about how his sisters died.
Special effects and stuff, so he splitting body in half out of like a pig guts and stuff.
Yeah, he essentially when he got cut in half, his upper half was actually himself, but the lower half was just a dumb body filled with pig guts and stuff that got cut in half. And so it's a big revelation when the serial killer guy takes off his mask and it's Josh, and oh my god. But the thing.
So what did you think about that?
I thought it was. It kind of, I was waiting to find out if any one of the main characters was the serial killer because, after you watch Scream or anything like that, seems to become like the most postmodern thing where you make the killer one of the victims. And although it is quickly shown that he did not actually kill anyone, especially because up until that point, the only two deaths I had was Josh himself, which turns out to be fake. Yeah. And then Jess, who dies in a way that doesn't seem like he could be responsible for because he was not.
It's weird that I did find it weird that he was orchestrating this whole thing to embarrass everybody, but he sent Mike and Jessica off, but they were just as complacent in the getting his sisters killed as he was, and he wasn't messing with them at all.
And the other death that happens, the other death I really experienced happens after that where so you find out Josh is responsible for this fake serial killer, but you still have characters who are still stuck out there in the wild and stuff trying to survive, and they don't know what's going on, and there's still someone else killing people.
You think they're getting hunted by this guy with a flamethrower?
Yeah, and it turns out that there's this guy with this flamethrower who is also this guy who seems to be responsible for the death for Josh's sisters at the beginning of the game. Turns out he's a good guy. He's this homeless guy who lives on the mountain. And the reason he has this scary fucking flamethrower, he's got these goggles and stuff that make him look like a Batman supervillain. But he turns out to be a good guy. And in retrospect, if you actually go back and rewatch the opening cutscene where they show Josh's two sisters die and kind of set up the whole thing of the game, he looks like he's going to be the serial killer that's killing everyone for the whole game. But no, you can kind of see that he actually is trying to help the girls. He's just kind of chasing them, but they're running away from him because he's scary because he's dressed like a fucking maniac with a flamethrower. Yeah. And the reason why this guy's got a fucking flamethrower is because there are monsters living on this fucking mountain.
Wendangos.
Wendigos. I think they pronounce it Wendigos in the.
No, you're correct. I said it wrong.
They're like Native American shape-shifting, blah blah blah. They're
a spirit that inhabit your body if you succumb to cannibalism.
I don't know if that's what the original version is, but that's what this game's take on Wendigos are. Yeah. And so if you ever eat the flesh of someone else, you will inevitably turn into a giant, like 8-foot tall, skeletal, indestructible monster that will continue to want to eat other people.
Throughout events in the game, you find out that Beth died in the fall, one of the twins.
Yeah.
But Hannah survived, and Hannah, stuck in the mines, wound up digging up Beth's corpse from where she buried her and eating her.
The shit out of her. Yeah.
And that's
you find Beth's severed head in the mines, and it's pretty fucking gruesome.
Yeah.
So it turns out that the thing really responsible for most of the deaths in the game is actually Hannah, who has now been turned into. It kind of turns into an Uncharted story where you think the game is kind of grounded, especially when it's revealed that Josh has been the fake serial killer. You think, well, okay, it's no longer a supernatural thing, or at least not a super. It's not like a ghost or anything like that. But no, it turns out, there's actually it's really like at the end of Uncharted 2 when you find out who are the blue guys who tear everyone apart.
I don't know. I didn't play Uncharted 2.
It's kind of like that thing where suddenly, okay, we are going to say monsters exist and are attacking and killing people.
Yeah.
So it's really weird because it seems like if it were actually a ghost, it would seem more sensible. But the fact that
there is a ghost in the game.
Is there?
Yeah, because in the Ouija board scene, if you go back there, when they're doing the Ouija board stuff.
Yeah, I thought that was just Josh.
There's a point when they're doing that if you look in the background, you can see a body standing there.
Oh, really?
And it only appears for one scene, but there's
but that's actually something real going on.
Yeah.
No, okay. Because there were rumors that there might be DLC for this game that might involve that ghost somehow.
It's unclear if the Ouija board is actually being controlled by Beth or Josh.
Josh does seem to be genuinely surprised when that shit starts happening too.
So it might actually be Beth controlling.
That would actually be kind of interesting. Although Beth's not technically. It could be Beth because Hannah's still alive, but she's now a fucking
Wendigo. Yeah.
A fucking chud, literally.
She is. Cannibalism.
So it turns out Hannah's still she's a monster too, but she also is justified in wanting to kill everyone.
And there's also other versions.
Yeah, there's this one thing where you find out like 50 years ago there was a cave-in the mines, and everyone else who got stuck in this cave and got turned into Wendigos too. Yeah. And that's who this dude with the flamethrower, who at first seemed to be the serial killer that Josh turned out to be a fake version of, is actually a good guy. And the reason this guy has a flamethrower is because the Wendigo's only weakness is fire.
If you kill them, their spirit just goes into another body
or something like that.
But fire, you can damage them enough that you can trap them and just lock them up, which is what.
One of my only other deaths. So that was 2 deaths. Well, two what I thought were 2 deaths. It was Josh and it was Jess. The third one was Matt, the black quarterback guy.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Emily, the Asian girl, and Matt, the black quarterback guy, they get stuck in the woods, and I think they're on the same precipice that Hannah and Beth fall off of.
Yeah.
And they get attacked by reindeer. And there's a part where you're kind of like Matt throughout the whole game is kind of presented as this super low key, sensitive, smart guy who's very he'll always he diffuses tense situations, at least that's the way I played him. And so when he's presented with this thing where they're kind of being charged by these reindeer on top of this this cliff top, I was like, okay, very cool. Don't yell at the deer. Play it cool. The deer won't get freaked out if we get freaked out too. And then suddenly there was something where it suddenly cued me to fire a gun at the deer.
Yeah.
And something about my input made him fire, which made them charge and knocked him off the mountain. And then he didn't get killed immediately, but it turned into a QTE event where I had to climb back up on top of the cliff top in order to keep from dying. And I fucked up the QTE, and he fell 50 feet to his death. Smashed his head against a rock and died.
So you did not mean to fire the...
No, not at all. Because like I was like my roleplay thing was the character was like, don't do it. But I can't even. It was like almost like a wrong button input or something like that.
Weird.
Because like I misfired, but like the fact that I like it was one of those things where a target showed up where you can like aim and shoot things, but like I didn't do that correctly. But like I think I was so tense I may have accidentally just hit the trigger anyway. Just when I saw there was like an option for something, I may have been just too keyed up and I fucked it up. And then on top of that, I fucked up the QT that could have saved him afterwards too. But Matt was not that much of an important character, so I wasn't totally fucking torn up about that. But I did lose pretty much the most important character in the game.
So
just because she's the most famous.
Yeah.
Is Hayden Panettiere got fucking whacked at the end.
That sucks. She's the most likable character in the game.
Yeah, which is funny because she disappears for a long stretch of the game because while everyone's off being killed, she's taking a hot tub bath.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like these characters, they get up to this like snowy mountain lodge and there's a serial killer running around. They never turn the lights on in the goddamn place.
You missed a whole section of the game where Matt finds Jessica in the mines and like has to guide her through.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I never saw that. Yeah, no. Emily, she ends up down in she finds Beth's head, but she also ends up finding like the remains of Matt, who's been dragged into the mines by the Wendigo. That's one kid. Like, there's enough. Like, seems like there's enough extra story in this, so you would actually get kind of like pretty big diverging paths and stuff.
Yeah,
sure. And so you actually end up finding Matt's body strung up with the body of the flamethrower guy, like in the Wendigo's lair, and like
because he gets killed. You can't.
That seems to be an unavoidable death, which actually turns out the fire flamethrower guy is actually played one of the game's writers. He shows up in one of the making of featurettes, and he's got like it's the same guy. He even has like the same fucked up hair and like a missing front tooth and stuff. Like
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And so all like Josh ends up, and Josh gets kidnapped by Hannah and dragged back down to the mines or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one of them. It wasn't necessarily Hannah, but yeah, somebody dragged him back to the mines.
Essentially, he gets dragged out of the mines and turned into a Wendigo too.
Oh, okay. So that is him technically being alive.
Yeah, he's alive. You lose him, but like,
I thought you said you only wound up with like 3 characters left.
Yeah. So what happened at the end was Wendigos attack the lodge. Everyone's at the lodge, and they start fighting. And something happens where you get to take control of Hayden Panettiere, and there's a QT event. It's literally like one of the last things you do. It's like the last thing you do in the game, where you just have to do a QT to run away from the one of the Wendigos. Just run out the front door is all you really have to do. And I fucked up the QT, and she got stabbed through the gut. And it was it was like a 4-part QT, and I fucked up the last part. And there's not even a moment where you think, oh my god, she get out of it. I fucked up the QT, and then boom, it automatically cut to her going sploosh, and a blast of blood out of her back, and her eyes suddenly going limp and lifeless. And I was like, fuck. And so the Wendigo, tears her up, and I think starts feasting on her, and then everyone else runs out except for Mike, the big tall white guy. He stays behind. Turns out during the big rough fight with the Wendigo, it's caused a gas leak in the lodge. He's been kind of slightly crippled. It is kind of insinuated this is actually Hannah tearing everyone up, because I do think you see like it's set up earlier in the game. She's got a tattoo, and this Wendigo has the same tattoo.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of even insinuated that like maybe she doesn't kill Mike immediately, because like the whole point of this game started off that she had a crush on Mike, and she even has a Wendigo. I don't know what the hell's going on. But Mike, so Sam, who is played by Hayden Panettiere, she gets whacked, and then Mike, the big white guy, he ends up sacrificing himself by like he's like crippled on the ground. The place is filled up with gas. Everyone else has run out alive. The last 3 people who are not these 2 guys, because so that makes sense. There's 8 characters. These are the last 5. 2 of them die in this scene, leaving three survivors. So Mike and Sam die. Mike dies when he like pulls out his lighter, ignites the gas in the lodge, and the whole place blows up with him, Hannah, and Sam still inside. And that leaves Chris, Willow, and Asian Girl. Yeah, and that's the end of my story.
Wow. So. Yeah, you should definitely watch like the 2 best friends go about it, because I get the feeling that they did a lot of stuff differently than you, from the sounds of it, and it'd be interesting to see like how drastically your game was different compared to.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what do you think about this, because those QTEs can be fucking rough. I mean, I've played a million QTEs in my life, and that's still. I mean, I guess they want to make it super short to kind of keep the tension up, but it's still like woof.
Yeah,
like it's brutal. And like I said, I fucked shit up. Like I lost 2 characters because I fucked the QTEs. It wasn't even like a moral decision I made that was incorrect or anything. So
yeah, how tense would you consider the game to be?
It's pretty tense because they do a good job of doing. There's a decent amount of jump scares in the game, but like, dude, they do a good job of like, of building tension and then releasing tension through an actual bad thing that's happening, or having a jump scare, or like slowly building it back up. And between that and jumping back and forth between story threads that are happening at the same time, it's good. The story's not amazing, but the storytelling in the game's pretty good. The game looks gorgeous, especially. I kept on taking screen caps. Oh, that actually, you know what? I think that may have. Oh, the reason Matt died, the black guy died, was because I was in the middle of taking a screen cap when the QTE started. And so when I came back, I think that may be why I accidentally fired off the shotgun or whatever weapon I had that scared the deer that got him killed.
You deserved it.
Yeah, it was one of those things where
this
like,
is not a game you can stop.
Yeah, because I think I stopped to take a screen cap of the deer because I think they looked pretty. And I think, but yeah, it's really well made. They actually put some time and money into the game. And and the fact that like it's really cool. It is definitely better than Heavy Rain or Beyond Two Souls.
Yeah,
it's that kind of quality and that kind of gameplay, but it put into a game that doesn't take itself nearly so seriously. It takes itself seriously enough that it's not like it's not trying to be too wise ass about like, hey, it takes itself seriously to be scary, but it's not trying to be. It knows what it is. It knows what kind of story it's telling. It's a pulpy B movie slasher horror movie, but still is self-aware enough to have some fun with it a little bit and kind of play around with some of the genre conventions. But yeah, it's pretty good. I had a good time with it.
Well, good.
Yeah, and like, you ever want to borrow my copy? It's probably right here.
You got your spooky October ish.
Yeah, seriously, that's kind of like my big game. I've got Soma. I should go play sometime this week before Halloween is up. But yeah, by the next time we record, Halloween's going to be over. But shit.
Yeah. Well, before you go, I'm going to send you a quick link. To the ghost in the background of the Ouija board that I mentioned, so you can see what I was talking about.
Let's see. Where are you going to send this?
It's a reaction live on the hour.
Let's see.
So yeah, you can.
Oh yeah, it definitely looks like a naked girl
standing in the background there.
Yeah, that's got to be Beth. Yeah, because that definitely doesn't look like one of the Wendigos.
Yeah.
You can tell me that doesn't look like Willow.
Not really.
Kinda. She's got red hair and she's nerdy.
She's got red hair and she's nerdy. All. Yep, exactly like her.
Anyway, yeah, Until Dawn.
Yeah, it's a good time.
It's the best game you can play that's named after dish detergent this month.
And I'm glad they're going to be able to make a sequel, even if I'm not really super interested in.
Are they making a sequel?
Actually, playing it, the game did a lot better than they were expecting it to. So it's not necessarily going to be a sequel to this game, but they're
if they're just going to make another game like in this genre, like this another
Dawnish game, yeah.
Huh. I wonder if they're still gonna if it's gonna be another pulp horror thing, or if it's gonna be.
Who knows?
They do. Hopefully they'll get
a lot of genres they could do.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it's still kind of a pulpy thing, because one of the best things about the writing of this game is that it's kind of doing a pulpy thing, but not being too pretentious. Not games can be art. I'm not saying games shouldn't aspire to be art, but you should also be aware of your reach shouldn't exceed your grasp too much. That's what went wrong with David Cage, where he is a worse writer than these guys, but he thought he was writing fucking Shakespeare.
I wouldn't say the writing in this is bad. I'd say it knows exactly what it's trying to do.
I'm not saying it's bad, but that's what I'm saying. But they know, the people who wrote this game, they write horror movies for a living. So it's that kind of I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad again.
It's got some nice twists in it. You wouldn't expect Wendigos to be in the game.
Yeah, seriously. Well, that's interesting because I was wondering how they're going to tie in, because there's all this stuff about. Oh no, that's one of the other gameplay mechanics in the game. Is throughout the game you find these little Native American artifacts.
Yeah.
That you pick up and you will get a psychic preview of something to come. It might be a character death that may be avoidable, especially now that you know that a character could die in a certain situation, or it might be some kind of outcome of this, or it's. And I was kind of curious to see how, because the whole Native American thing seemed to be kind of a random thread in the game that I didn't quite understand where they're going with it. But yeah, the whole Wendigo thing is kind of like that's how they kind of tie that into the story. But yeah, it's I liked it. It was a good time.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Especially next Halloween, you can probably buy it for $10. I'm not saying you should wait for it for $10, but if you're listening to this a year from now, and Until Dawn is $10 on Amazon, get that shit. It's good times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. So that was the Boy Howdy podcast.
That was 2 hours and 20 minutes of the Boy Howdy podcast.
That's shorter than I thought we were gonna go.
Really?
You and I can talk, friend.
We can. Yeah, but yeah, we gotta record a new Yeah, we gotta record 2 new Tardy of the Parties in a week from now too.
So he's Mudrin on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The Grumpy Turtle on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
You can email Boy Howdy. What is it?
At boyhowdy. Annie always does this.
I know. I
can just tweet at us.
Guys.
Say, hey guys.
Tweet it yet?
No one ever emails us. It's totally fine.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
You can hear Bill talk about other stuff on tardypodcast.com.
It's a good podcast.
At least we hope so.
Yeah.
We talk about stupid stuff.
We like really delve deep into the trivia of the stuff that we talk about.
We make dumb jokes.
We make dumb jokes. Lots of dumb jokes.
Yeah. So if you like what you heard here today, you can check out our other podcast and hear more of it. Mm-hmm. There are currently 10 whole episodes for you to dive into. That
name again is Mr. Plow.
Name again is Mr. Plow.
Yeah.
That's 10 whole hours of crap that you can stuff in your ear holes because you got nothing better to listen to.
Even longer than that, because some of those episodes are like 2 hours. Like we
haven't. Silent Hill is the longest one, probably. I think that might be 2 hours. But
actually, it's probably tomorrow. I'll send you the links. I'll send you the edited MP3s.
I think an hour and a half is currently the longest. I don't remember what that was.
We did. Well, yeah. For people, for a little spoiler for the Silent Hill game, I got the In Water ending. We'll talk more about that on the podcast.
I'm
just saying, entice people. So if people really care about Silent Hill, they'll understand. Like, because I did a whole 8 hour. Well, no, that was a 12-hour long playthrough of Silent Hill 2 just for the podcast. Yeah. It was totally worth it. It was a good game. But yeah, we go because Daniel's the expert on that, and I'm the newbie. He did all the research, and he's got all the trivia about the game. And yeah, he talks about all my choices compared to other stuff like that can happen in the game that I may have missed and stuff like that. So,
so check that out. And next week, Annie will be back to yell at Bill and probably make you enjoy this podcast more.
We'll be getting more updates about Dragon Age next week.
I forgot to talk about Dragon Age.
Yeah. No, actually, man, I don't know how she's gonna be dealing because we're gonna be 2 weeks closer to the release of Fallout 4.
Actually, she'll probably be talking about Assassin's Creed Unity.
Actually, yeah. Okay, so we'll wrap this up, and yeah, we'll talk to you guys soon then.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the podcast, Daniel. You're always welcome.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Take care, guys.